Good evening and welcome to Poker Night Live. My name's Michelle, your host for the evening. I'm joined tonight by one of our resident experts, that's Caspar. Hello, Caspar.
Hello, Michelle.
Of the berry kind.
How are you?
Not too bad.
Jolly good.
So I hear, first of all, before we move on, congratulations for coming first in your live tournament the other day.
Congratulations for coming third in your live tournament the other day.
Thanks very much, Caspar. We will touch on that a bit later. If you have only just joined the show and you haven't watched it before, we're going to be watching poker tournaments tonight live on the internet as they're happening. We can see everybody's hold cards and it's a great way to learn the game. Tonight is amateur night. We're surrounded by pro nights, but tonight we'll be learning how the game is played, the structure of the game, and things you should and shouldn't be doing at the beginnings of your game. Now, Caspar will be helping us with this. He's going to be commentating on all of the games that we're watching tonight, and we will be watching cash games, tournaments, and hopefully a multi-table tournament as well. Now, if you do watch the show a lot and you've been with us a week, you will know about our new features here. They're still going on tonight. I will be playing a bit later in a tournament, and then Caspar will be commentating on that at 12 o'clock.
We both will.
We both will, yes.
It's not commentating, is it? It's more just soliciting from you what you were thinking and feeling at the time.
This is the plan.
It's not. I'm not going to sit there and go, didn't like that, Michelle.
Well, that's perfectly okay if you didn't,
Much.
Caspar. So yes, while we're throttling each other later over the game I'm playing, we also have hold cards of the night, another new feature, and we will be taking phone call questions from you as well. Now, if you do have anything you'd like to ask throughout the night about poker or what you've seen, this is the way to contact us. You can text. The text number is 62211, or you can email the email address www.pokernightlive.co.uk. You can also have your say, and your answer phone message will be played out live. That's 0906 270 80, so live on air, and will be discussed by the panel of experts, which is Caspar.
I love being a panel.
You're a whole panel of your own.
I think I'll make it a good panel, a good human panel.
I think so. You're quite wide in the face. I don't know why that helps, but it does.
Am I really?
No.
Do I like Mr. Ben? Do you remember Mr. Ben with the big face? Or Frank?
Honestly, you
Frank?
don't have
that Lancashire accent.
You're fine.
Thank you.
Perfectly in proportion. Well, as I said earlier, we're going to be watching cash games, tournaments, and multi-table tournaments. So let's have a quick look at those tables right now. Caspar, that's your domain.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's loud. So we have a $5 tournament there on table one. Time seems to have stopped.
But I'm sure. Bandit, who's a woman?
Jolly good, excellent.
She told me the other day.
$20 tournament on table two. Queens, ace king, ace 10, it's all happening. Cyberdocs picked the wrong day to give up smoking. Table 3 is a 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. Quite a big pot for that table. Your flush draw versus your nothing to speak of. U-turn. Put 'em down, my son. Put 'em down. We'll never know.
We will, because we'll head back.
Will we? Or we'll actually know what U-turn did.
Yep. We'll find
U-turn
out.
if you're
I'm sure
watching.
the technology's there.
Good. And the old multi-table, we will be coming to that at various points tonight. I can't wait.
Yes, we will be following the multi-table tournament throughout the night. Now, the new feature, Beat the Presenter, which is where you can watch one of us each night playing on the internet. I think, if I'm correct in saying, Caspar and I are the only ones to make the money so far.
Yes,
so we've got the
right.
cream of the crop here tonight.
I don't have to play again until all the presenters have come first in their heats, so a bit of time off for the berry.
Yeah, third, not bad. I'll try and get second tonight if I can.
Bad. Yes, absolutely. Set yourself high. Go on, aim for first.
I will do.
Aim for first.
Okay, and before we move on, the what's in the hole, we will be doing that throughout the night. We will touch on that first, but before we do, Poker Zone. For those of you that love it and watch it avidly every day, you always tune into 226. Well, shortly, you won't be able to do that anymore. No, so you really need to concentrate right now on what I'm about to say, because it's very important. 843.
843.
843. This is going to be our 843.
843.
Like an echo. This is going to be our new number, yes. To celebrate as well, Poker Zone's moved to 843 to the gaming and dating. It works as well. to celebrate our move to 843
843.
and our move to the gaming and dating channel area in Sky, and we're offering one lucky viewer the chance to represent Poker Zone and go to Vegas. We're going to send somebody to Las Vegas at the 2006 World Series of Poker.
I was free. I don't know about anyone else.
I was free.
I had a
free.
window there in April.
But no, it's going to be one of you guys that we're going to send to Vegas, and you're going to be a roving reporter for us. It's a truly magnificent prize. Now, all you have to do to enter that competition is think of a quirky, poker-related Lonely Hearts column advert. Yes, it's a poker-related Lonely Hearts column advert. Now, I do have an example for you here, which is well-stacked gentleman seeks loose player for some all-night action. This is quite good. Did you make that one up?
No. And can we come up with some other alternatives tonight rather than reading that out 15 times?
And well, me and Cass will come up with. Can we enter?
I've been thinking about this because I really don't want anyone else to do it. I don't want to watch reports of someone else pottering around Vegas. It'll just make me cry.
So we're all going to be upset. But yes, one of you guys will be going to Vegas. So do email them into us, or you can text them into us, or you can call that number and leave them live for us as well.
Do you think it has like competition rules where any employees and their relatives aren't allowed to enter?
Probably.
That is rubbish, isn't it?
We should do it anyway, though. You never know.
All right.
We'll have a word.
Okay.
Guys upstairs. Okay, now to start off the night, we're going to have a little look at what's in the hole. Now, what's going to happen here before we see it is we are going to see one hand that we've picked out. Now, one of the players has their cards covered, and the idea is that we try and work out what he could be holding in his hand. Now, we're actually
What's in
looking
his
for
hole?
what's in his hole.
Okay,
Hence
843.
the name. But we're looking for a type of hand. We don't need to know specific cards. We're looking to see whether we had a flush or a high pair or a low pair or a straight, a high straight. And there is going to be a little bit of a prize each month to the person who consistently gets it right. Will be receiving something each month.
Will they be going to Vegas?
No, they
to
won't be going to
a television
Vegas.
reporter?
No bitterness here at all, is there, Caspar?
Will they be just packing their bags and going to Heathrow and then taking the train home again? What? How do you give a little bit of a prize?
So yes, you will
Wow.
be giving a little prize out each month. But do remember, this game is about learning. It's about being able to read your opponent. And this is something that's very important to your game, isn't it?
It's very important.
So these competitions are going to be running from 12 till 12. So that means at 12 o'clock, midnight, each day, or night if you like, we're going to be starting a new one and revealing the old one. So the one that started at 12 o'clock this morning, let's have a look at that one.
Can I just say a big hello at this point to Mr. Walton?
Mr. Walton?
Yes. Who's a friend of mine from Shotley Bridge,
John Boy.
where I went to school when I was 9, 10, and who I haven't seen since then, and just got in touch with me a year after I wrote to him in Friends Reunited.
Oh wow,
And he's
hello,
into
Mr.
poker,
Walton.
so he said he'd watch tonight. Look at that, with a raise for the jacks. Pakistan angle.
So we're trying to
called
work
on the
out
button.
what he's got.
Yeah, and then he calls the raise from the small blind bets out, and Pakistan angle, just smooth calls. King scares first position, a small blind a little bit. Pakistan angle now, ooh, just a little bet, just the one. Into a pot of
What could it
21.
be?
It's very hard to say or know, because that was a mad bet.
Ooh, all in.
All in after the one, little pot building bet of one, and then an all in. And if you can read that, you're a better man than I.
Can you not work it out?
Well, it was a bit insane. That's the impediment.
Do remember, when you're texting in, do you text the word whole first and then you answer 62211? I did make a mistake earlier. You can't email them to us because they do come in through a separate way. So text the word whole and then your answer and then your name to 62211.
Is that a Courtney Love tribute?
What? It's early yet.
Yeah.
Give me time to
Okay.
warm into it. Well, so a quick reminder, I think it's Saturday tonight. We'll be watching the whole throughout the night, and at 12 o'clock we'll be revealing the answer and then starting a new one. Also at 12 o'clock, Cass and I will be looking at the game that I am going to play in between 11 and 12. So we will switch seats, and Caspar will be a busy bee.
Oh, I
while
can't
play.
wait to do a show with you in seat number one. Fantastic. The control will Come to me.
So we're going to start the show tonight with a $20 sit and go. I think it's a great way to start the night, so let's head over there.
Fantastic. And having played in sit and goes now on this site, we know how fast they are, don't we?
Oh, they're so fast.
So fast. So we're going to be slightly more understanding in some of our commentary after having done it for 9 months.
Yes, it was very quick.
Bless me.
Bless you. Right, so here we are. This is a $20 sit and go with 8 players. This is Texas Hold'em. For our new players tonight, Caspar, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a lowdown of what's going on here.
Okay.
Once you stop sneezing, of course.
Once I've stopped sneezing and my eyes have stopped watering, this is a sit and go. Can I just commentate on this hand, just because it's exciting?
Yeah.
Because Satan has decided to bet out with nothing, and Stan is sitting like a tiger in the long grass with 3 sevens, and Satan has decided to call, which is interesting. He's made a bluff there with nothing. He's basically got called on his bluff. You know the old phrase, is calling someone's bluff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's got called on the bluff and then some, because Stan actually raised him, and Satan deciding to play this out. And in a way, the best card that could possibly have fallen for Satan, the ace. And Satan got to know now there really is nothing he can do here. So regrettably, he's got to say goodbye. And I wonder what sort of box we're going to put Satan in. What sort of box? Quite a loose, aggressive box.
A loose, aggressive box.
Yeah, whether it's a wise loose aggressive or a slightly insane loose aggressive, only time will tell.
Okay, so you're describing the type of player he is.
The type of player he is, yes indeed.
So by loose, you're saying he plays a lot of hands.
8-4-3.
8-4-3. You're supposed to echo me.
Yeah, but you haven't
I
said
did
it for a
say
while, so I thought it might be necessary to...
But now people that just tuned in don't know what we mean by 8-4-3.
Well, let's tell them.
Shall we?
Yes.
Guys and gals, we're moving from 2-2-6 to 8-4-3.
8-4-3.
8-4-3. Do remember, it's very important. That's going to be happening at the end of the month.
Shall I explain what's happening?
Yep.
We're going to be moving from... Oh no. Sit and go. Sit and go. It's like a small tournament, if you will. Some people have played in big multi-table tournaments, while a sit and go is like a one-table tournament. And they have a funny history or genesis, sit and goes. I mean, they started off as things called satellites. In other words, let's say there was a $1,000 tournament going on. You'd have a one-table satellite where everyone would put up $100 plus an extra 10 vig to the site, and then the winner would get a seat in the tournament. That's how sit and go started. The notion that they'd be the big business that they are now, like a lot of things 5 years ago in poker, sort of quite unexpected, really. Quite bizarre to just sort of come from left field.
They're huge, aren't they, sit and go tournaments?
Yeah, they're absolutely massive. But people wouldn't have thought twice, really, about playing in sit and go after sit and go, or satellite after satellite. It's a very, you know, if you went back in time 5 years and walked into the Mirage and said, you know what, lads, these one-table satellites are going to be massive, people would laugh you out of the room. Or they'd probably just look at you in a sort of cynical Texan way and say with a big Texan drawl, what are you talking about, boy? I'd say, but in Texan.
Texan?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Oh, I couldn't possibly.
I think it would be funny.
It almost certainly would be. So,
so there's thousands of these sit and goes happening now. They're very popular. A lot of people start with the sit and goes as well when they start playing online.
As well they might. And for me, they are the staple of my main...
You've made loads of money on sit and goes, haven't you?
Playing, yes.
Had a huge win.
I won $8 the other day, live on air.
I know, I won $12.50.
Oh, you actually beaten my monetarily. Your third's better than my first.
Yeah.
That's not fair, is it? Because my field was just as tough as yours. I had Hoofy and Sam and...
Hoofy went out first on our table.
No, he didn't on ours. Hoofy and I had a disagreement in terms of the optimum playing strategy.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Hoofy doesn't like playing loose early doors, and nor does Dr. Deem on the websites. All putting up very cogent arguments. Of course, the my ultimate or final say on the matter from my point of view is you must do whatever you feel comfortable with, and all strategies are good strategies.
If they work for you.
Well, no, as long as they're internally consistent. As long as they're internally consistent. As long as you understand the implications. I remember I was on a show with James once, and I said, you know, James, we talk about the old 80-20 rule. In other words, you do something 80% of the time because it's the right play. Doesn't that mean that if you're doing the other thing 20% of the time, then you're sacrificing some equity? And James made a good point. He said, no, not at all. It's just you've got to understand the implication of what you're doing. So if you smooth call with aces before the flop, you can still make them pay, but you've got to understand that they're going to play differently. You're going to win less often when you smooth call with aces before the flop. But sit and goes.
Yeah, sit and go. So we're watching Texas Hold'em poker. There's just different particular styles that you can play in. So this is a sit and go, but the game is the same as if you're playing in a cash game, and it's the same as if you're playing in a multi-table tournament.
Yeah.
Now, how does the structure work on a sit and go?
Well, all these players have bought in for a certain sum of money. So in this case, it's $20. And they've bought about 45, 50 minutes play or entertainment for those $20. And those $20 plus an extra $2, which is the little markup for the site as a fee for spreading this entertainment for you all. The $20 all goes into a big kitty. So 8 players at $20 a pop creates a kitty of $160. And that kitty is going to be shared out amongst the players that come in the top 3. If you look into seat number 3 there, between BWFC and Stan, you'll see an empty chair. Agreed?
Agreed.
No name. Well, at the beginning of the tournament, that would have to have had a name, because you can't start a sit and go until we have all seats filled. Which means that he has bust out. Which means whoever was sitting in seat 3 has at some point lost all his chips. Everyone started off with 1,000 chips to someone else.
Maybe Stan.
My guess is Stan. 843.
843.
Is it 843 we're moving to?
Yes, 843.
That's not where we are now.
No, but we're going to be moving to 843 at the end of the month.
843.
And people can join in a Lonely Hearts competition by sending in a quirky poker-related Lonely Hearts little newspaper heading thing.
Do you have an example of that, or something that I should be aiming towards?
I do, but we'll work on that, and I'll call it out a bit later.
Really? Are you working on a new one now? You're just drawing a picture of a pylon?
It's not a pylon.
It's not a pylon. Yeah. So we've created this little kitty of money, $160, and the first place, in other words, the last person left, the person who never loses all their chips, right? They are going to be making 50% of that. That's $80 to your right. Yeah. It's not to be sniffed at, is it?
No, it's not bad.
The second person, the person who's left in the last 2, they're going to be making 30% of it, and the third person is going to be making 20% of it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so top 3 are awarded prizes, and it's a do to the death competition, if you like. Once your chips have gone, you're out.
A do to the death.
So poor old fella in seat 3 lost all his chips and he's gone, and that's it. That's his game over.
That's it.
So his $20 is gone.
But he can join another sit and go almost immediately, and that's the great thing about sit and
And
goes.
it's simple as just going online, picking any table which isn't yet full, clicking on a space, and then you just wait for it to be full. And it's generally only a few minutes, isn't it? Not even that you're waiting for these to fill up.
Yeah, I mean, it changes, doesn't it? I mean, the higher the stakes, to be honest with you, the longer you generally have to wait. You can wait, you know, well, in the middle of the day, you can wait up to quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, half an hour for a $100 sit and go. In fact, $100, $200 sit and goes might never fill. Depends on the site. Completely depends on the site. And there are so many sites out there now that you can play on a different site every day and not run out for a year, I expect.
Well, we can see there at the top, you can always see what the pot is. That's the amount in the pot. And the blinds there. Blinds are 40-80. So what are these and what are they there for?
The blinds. There's BWFC. He's placed the small blind, and Stan has placed the big blind, 40-80. And they're to get the action going. There's all sorts of reasons why the blinds exist. You don't need to worry about many of them too much if you're just starting playing poker. Just know they have to be played, and that the next bet has to be at least the size of the big blind. There's a rule in poker. In order to progress to the next street, you have to bet as much as the person who's bet the most on that street. Sounds complicated. Let me say it again. You have to bet as much as the person who's bet the most on that street. So on this betting street, Baggy's ace has bet 80, which means if you want to continue on this betting street, you must play at least 80. On that occasion, everyone said no to that, and so Baggy's ace, without having to play a hand, took the money down.
So everybody's bet has to be equal before we can move on?
Yes.
And now actually it can become slightly confusing, and this is a good time to look at it. El Piqué has raised it to 240.
Yes.
Now if Satan wanted to raise it again, can he raise to 320 20, which is the big blind, or does he have to raise to double what LP's put in?
Well, no, it's neither. He has to raise the amount of the last raise. So if we've got a bet of 80, which is the big blind, and someone raises it to 240, then the difference between those two is 160. Right? So LP's raise on that occasion was 160.
So Satan's would have to be at least 160.
So it would have to be at least 160 greater than the bet of 240, which equals 400. 400. So Satan, the next raise would have to be at least 400. But it would have to be at least 400 in general. In general, correct poker strategy means that your raise should be greater than that. Now that's a general rule that has all sorts of exceptions and caveats, which we won't bore you with right now. But in general, if you were going to raise 160, unless you had a massive hand like a pair of aces, you'd be wanting to raise it to at least 500 or more.
So once everybody's bet is equal, we then move on to the flop, the next 3 cards to come out.
Yes. Now what we've seen here is BWFC call with a pair of aces in first position. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's debatable. In general, classic poker theory would say that you shouldn't be doing that. You should be raising with your aces in first position. But there's also a theory that says, well, you know, when you raise with aces in first position, you look so strong, it's very unlikely that anyone's going to bet against you. And on this occasion, BWFC has engineered a situation in which he's great, he's golden. He's come up smelling of roses. Satan needs a king or a 2 to stay in the game, and that's not it. I'm not giving away any secrets there. Not telling anyone what's in the hole. There he goes.
Feature. So it can all become a little bit confusing because you're looking for the best 5-card hand. What particular reasons are there that you would raise before the flop comes out? Because before the flop you've only got 2 cards of your 5 cards. After the flop you've got 5 cards, and that's going to drastically change the worth of your hand.
Yeah, and there are some sort of, I mean, you know, the trouble with sitting here, being an authority on Texas Hold'em, is that I've got a theory that the amount that we know right now about Texas Hold'em is such a tiny, minuscule proportion of what we're going to know in about 10, 15, 20 years' time if this boom continues. I mean, if you compare what we know about poker now to what we know about chess, I stress, what I know about chess can be written on a stamp. You'll know it's such a tiny, tiny, tiny proportion, the amount of analysis that's really been done about poker, as much as that analysis might seem. So the answer to that question is, it may well be, in 5 years' time, that some old mathmo bod comes up with a strategy that says it's correct not to raise before the flop at all. For that very reason, that whilst we can say that we have, sometimes you have a good hand that has a good positive expectation, obviously aces, kings, ace-king, queens, ace-queen. These hands have a generally positive expectation in the game of poker, and therefore the traditional theory is if you have a positive expectation, you want to be getting your money into the pot with it, and that equals raising it up. It may well be that people say, you know what, actually, if we look at these figures from 10 million hands, culled from Poker Tracker or whatever other statistical program you want to use, that we say, you know what, it's not advantageous to raise with those hands before the flop, actually. It's more advantageous to see the flop cheaply. Talking of which, here's a guide showing us just how cheaply people are seeing the flop. Satan is raising a lot, look at that.
This is before the flop, before the 3 cards, so Satan is raising 18% of his hands.
So he's being very aggressive, whereas Holy Zarkon, Batman, is only raising 2% of the time and calling 14% of the time. So brilliant chart here showing the way 2 different players are playing completely different styles, illustrates my point. Satan believing definitely try and get your money in before the flop, raise it up, and Holy Zarkon saying see the flop cheaply, call most of the time, and then depending on what sort of player Holy Zarkon is, either play very, very tight on the flop, or maybe just splash around and have a laugh. Who knows? Well,
they are 2 very different ways of playing, and it's a good point to touch on actually and ask you in that, obviously when you have a big hand, let's say you have aces.
Ask away.
And there's two, I will, thank you. And there's two very different ways of playing it. Like you say, with aces you can raise it right up before the flop, or you can slow play it and just call, and you want people to come in with you. It's a good hand, so you want to play against people.
What's the second one, sorry? The second hand? You've got aces?
You've got aces, you just call.
Right,
you want people to play against, you want people to come to the flop with you.
Yeah.
And now bearing in mind aces is one pair, and after that flop comes out, any hand could then be beating you with two pair or three of a kind or a straight or a flush.
Yes.
How can you look at it positively? If you raise before the flop, even though sometimes people won't play with you, you're still taking down the blinds and you're taking down a win. So can you look at that as always being a positive play? Or would, because you've got the best hand pre-flop, making people come through with you by only calling, is that the better way to do it? I mean, it's something people struggle with to know which is the best way to play this hand.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Ah, you struggle too, do you, Caspar?
The point is that it's completely situationally dependent.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on your overall. I mean, let's take a step back, shall we? What are we trying to do in poker, Michelle?
I can't. I'm seated.
But you can answer the question, can't you?
Yeah.
What are we trying to do in poker?
We're trying to win money.
Trying to win money. How long have you been presenting on this show now? We're not trying to win money. We're trying to make money.
Make money. I just like the word win.
Yes, all right. I know
I'm
it's a very sexy word. But we're trying to make money. In other words, we're trying to maximise the difference between our income and our expenditure. Yes? Mm-hmm. So, before we do anything in poker, we've agreed that we are simply trying to do that. We're trying to maximise our profits.
Yes.
All right? So whatever we do, it's got to have a positive long-term expectation. Mm-hmm. Okay? Everything that we do can be judged against that very specific criteria. What is the way of maximising our profitability? Okay? So when you ask me a question like that, what do you do with aces? The answer is, completely depends on all the different factors in that particular situation that are going to affect that long-term profitability. Look at Baggies here, with his full house and his king four. Oh, oof. Quad fours, it just gets better.
Unfortunately, he's not going to... Oh, well, no, Holy Zarkon's all in.
Holy Zarkon, yeah.
And he's gone out. We've lost another one.
So what are the factors that are going to affect that? Well, number one, it's your playing style. Number two, it's people's perceptions of you and your playing style. Number three, people's perceptions of you based on that particular evening and your results. In other words, have you won loads and loads of money and are people going to fold to you? Have you lost lots and lots of hands, in which case they're going to call you even if you raise, because you might have a losing image at that point, in which case people won't respect your raises. If that's the case, you can shove it all in with your aces and people will call you. Number three, it's what sort of playing style have your opponents got. Sorry, that's not number three, that's about number five. Number six, it's what position are you in? What does your bet say about what sort of hand that you have? Yeah.
I mean, a huge part of this then is how you're perceived at the table and how you perceive your opponents at the table.
It's absolutely massive.
The benefits of making a big raise with these hands, or not.
It's massive, and some people are sitting there going, not on the tables I play, because I mean, no one takes any notice of me. That's fine. Two things to say. Number one, that's great. We can say, not many people notice the way that I'm playing at this table. Ergo, I can bet my good hands big, and they'll still call me. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Number two, whilst people might not be taking a conscious interest in the way that you play.
Just as we lose our bubble, sorry.
Oh, we lost our bubble, down to the last three. People might not be taking a conscious interest in the way that you play. They're still subconsciously taking in things. So in other words, actually, whilst they might not be taking any notice of your playing style, they will sure as hell be noticing your results. Mm-hmm. And if you're a winner, they will be giving you a wider berth than if you're a loser. That's not rational or correct, by the way, but that's what they'll do. So in fact, the higher up the levels you go, and the better your opponents become, the more they judge you by your style, and the less they judge you by your results. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. I'll quit while I'm ahead then.
Yes. Well, no, it's a problem everybody has, and you do talk about this a lot. It's the feel of the table. With any particular hand or with any particular position you find yourself in, we can't tell you, or Caspar can't tell you what you can do. unless he has all the information, because like you say, it depends where you sat on the table.
Do you know what makes me laugh?
What?
Is quizzes in poker magazines saying, you're in second position, you have aces, do you raise it up, smooth call, or... They are just absolute nonsense, and to be honest with you, if you see a magazine with a quiz in like that, just flush it down the toilet, I think. Because it's an offence to anyone learning poker. And it makes me so angry how badly poker is being taught. Do you know what, I was in Habitat the other day, looking for a bath mat, because I'm slipping in the bath.
Fluffy one.
Actually, I was buying both bath mats, one for outside to dry my feet and one for inside to stop myself slipping.
This is all hugely interesting,
Yeah,
but...
anyway, there was a book about poker in the lifestyle section, right? So I picked it up. This book was absolutely catastrophic. It was saying that a good hand to have against a pair of kings was 9-10 suited.
Really?
I tell you what, I prefer aces.
Yeah, I'll go with the aces, please, if you don't mind.
I don't know about you. Now, there's all sorts of reasons why he said that. You know, the bloke who's writing it is not a moron, right? But that's no kind of advice to give a beginner, because they're just going to look at it and go, oh, 9-10 suited, that must be the holy nuts, I'll raise with that. I don't need to worry about someone having kings. You're a massive underdog. The point is, it's better to have 9-10 suited than it is to have king 2.
To our people that are beginning and this is their first time they're playing and they're working out which hands to play with, can people be bored away from the fact that if you've, it's fair enough, hands like 9-10 can turn into, you know, great money makers if they hit on the flop. But generally before the flop you have to remember the higher your cards are and the higher your pair is, the more chance you do have of winning at that particular point. The
more chance you have of winning according to the cards, yes. A lot of people are screaming at the telly and saying, I like playing little cards because they're very deceptive. Let's have a look at this hand, see if Baggies is going to win with his little pair of twos. Oh, he is now.
Keeps the set.
Yeah. And there we have it, a nice full house. We say goodbye to Stan, which means it heads up. Now, Stan is going to win 30% of 160, which is how much, 48 quid? $48?
Yes.
I think so. Is that right? Yeah, it'll do me. No, he's going to win 28. He's going to win 20%, so he's not going to win 30% at all. So he's going to win $32.
Third. So we're now in our heads up.
We are in our heads up now. So let's have a look at who's going to win. Oh, it's all happening. BWFC already all in. And Baggies hits his jack. This could be the hand. Dun 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 dun.
Unless another 5 comes, which it doesn't.
Baggies ace is our winner. Is there anything lucky about being called Baggies ace?
So that's, as you've just watched there, I know we've been talking about a lot of other stuff, but there's a tournament. Now, as you can see, there was a beginning and the end. Now, that tournament lasted about 20 minutes. Some tournaments can last a lot longer if you're in them till the end. I mean, I've sat in a tournament for over an hour before when people have been a lot slower.
Single table you're talking
about?
Yeah,
single table tournaments, yeah. But some of them can last 20, 30 minutes. Depends how quickly everybody's playing. Now, we'll add, actually, when you're picking which game to play, and if we're moving away from sit-and-go tournaments, when you're playing in a cash game, therefore you can come and go as you please. Something that I've been doing recently, which I didn't do so much before, was looking at the hands played per hour and looking at the size of the average pot. And it really helps you find a table you're more comfortable with. So I think it's something important to look at when you're choosing where to sit down, because as we know, picking a table to sit on and being comfortable with the people you're playing with is an important part of playing a good game.
Yeah, so do you want a lot of hands per hour or a few
I prefer it a little bit quicker because I only play one table, whereas if I was playing 2 or 3 tables at one time, I would obviously go for ones that were a bit slower.
8-4-3.
8-4-3. Yes, we're moving from 2-2-6 to 8-4-3.
When are we doing that, Michelle?
28th of February, I think.
28th of February.
It's the end of the month.
8-4-3.
And to make sure you can find us. We do have a couple of emails here, so we're going to do these before we head over to our next game. This is from Chris. Good evening to you, Chris. It says, hi guys, great show as usual. Not wanting to go on about bad beats, as I know they happen to us all, and you hate people going on about it, Nick. He's not here, it's Caspar, but never mind. But can you give any advice how you deal with the frustration when you've hit a bad streak and it seems the cards are against you? I'm still learning the game, but have been doing okay until this run. So Chris, it sounds like you've been doing okay and all of a sudden you've hit a bad run. Oh, I've been there, I know what it feels like. What can help these guys deal with this?
Well, how do you deal with it?
I tend to just walk away and leave and not play.
Walk away. Know when to hold them, know when to fold them, walk away. And it's not bad advice, to be honest with you. Since time immemorial, man's been trying to deal with this. So, Chris, you're not alone, and it's not unique to poker. Things can turn against you in life. You know the old phrase, it never rains, but it pours. Why does this seem to happen? You know, I remember my second visit ever to Vegas, no, my first ever visit to Vegas in 1996, sitting playing blackjack in the Holiday Inn Boardwalk at our little $1 table. Best trip of my life to Vegas, incidentally. First week ever went there. So 3 nights in the MGM, thought we'd died and gone to heaven. Then went to the Holiday Inn Boardwalk. Not so smart on the outside, but the atmosphere on the inside when you're 21. No, I was 23 at the time. Oh, God, it was brilliant. Anyway, sitting at the blackjack table with a dealer called Connie, and the prevailing thought around this blackjack table, with people who weren't, you know, the sharpest tools in the box, was that luck comes and goes in streaks. And I'm sitting there, obviously a novice to the whole gambling milieu, going, what do you mean luck comes and goes in streaks? That's silly, isn't it? And they said, no. You'll have a lucky period and you'll have an unlucky period. And I'm like, it's completely random. The cards are random. There's no, I'm not in a lucky phase or an unlucky phase. Now, there's all sorts of things to say about this, and viewers of the Pro Night will know that we get into lots of philosophical detail about what luck is and how you can affect it and all sorts of things like that, which if you want us to go into tonight, we will. You control the show, not us. But the fact is, the outcome of the cards is completely uncontrollable, all right? So you could have had the worst run of your life, and then you could sit down tomorrow and you could win the biggest tournament you've ever played in. I was going to say it's unlikely. The reason why it's less likely is because your mindset is likely to be very negative and you're unlikely to be playing well at that point. But in terms of the cards could run completely counter to how they've been running for the last 2 weeks. The reason why streaks are observed is because if you toss a coin for 20 times, it doesn't go heads, tails, heads, tails, heads, tails, heads. It goes heads, 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 tails, tails, heads, tails, heads, heads, tails, 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 heads, 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 tails, 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 tails. And you see these movements from heads to tails, and they look like streaks. That's what chaos is. The human mind looks at chaos and sees patterns. It would be astonishing if you went heads, tails, heads, tails, heads. In the same way, it would be astonishing if you won 1 out of 3 in order of every single flush draw that you had from the flop. What happens is you lose 10 of them on the trot and you say to yourself, God, I'm running bad. But just because you've lost the last 10 doesn't mean to say you're going to lose the next 3. What's this big preamble saying? It's saying that you need to consciously say these things and fight that feeling that you're having a bad run. If you want to stop playing, like Michelle said, that's absolutely great, but don't think that your bad run kind of goes on for a bit without you, and then when you come back, you'll be in a good phase again. It's still about your mindset, and I'm going to say this in answer to this question because we've got to move on, but we'll come back to this throughout the night. The difference between a good poker player and a bad poker player is being able to do that. Is it easy? No. But let me tell you something. Pick up your pen in your left hand and try and write your name with it. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. Do it every day for a month, and you'll find you can do it exactly the same as you can do it with your right hand.
Really?
It's just like everything else, you can do it with practice.
I'm going to try that.
Do we have another question? Or we're going to move back to a game?
And we're going to. I have a really good question here from Garbett.
You see, that was like a 5-year-old's, wasn't it, what you've written there?
But I'm going to, Garbett, very, very good question from you. So we'll do that when we go to our next game. And yeah, thank you, Caspar, for that. A lot of you do email in with this problem. Everyone deals with it differently. You can just laugh and say, well, as long as you think you made the right decision at that time, these things happen. Like I say, get very angry with the computer, so I move away until I've calmed down, go and watch the OC or something, and then come back, and that generally helps.
There you are, the OC, it's as simple as that.
The OC, and you'll be fine. But do let us know how you deal with it. Have you got any bad bit stories? How have you managed to get over that? Have you had bad runs? And let us know, 62211, and the email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
I tell you what, should we make this a little bit of a theme for tonight? Because I haven't done psychology stuff for quite a while, so no one can accuse me of banging on about.
Fair enough.
Yeah? Okay, right. In that case, whoever wrote that email, stay tuned because I'll go into a few different techniques and expand upon that throughout the course of the evening.
Excellent.
Cool.
Okay, now we'll do our what's in the hole actually very quickly before we move on. Let's have a quick another look at that.
Here we are, the maddest what's in the hole yet. What does this player have both in his hole and in his brain?
And snap it.
So he calls on the button.
Loomis.
He raises it up from the small blind. Big blind rightly folds. Button says, yeah, all right. Flop comes 779. And the jacks, quite rightly, bet out, and they bet it big. And our mystery player calls. King comes. Jacks are scared. Don't like the look of that. And the bet is 1. And jacks say, cool. I can call the 1 because I'm getting 22 to 1 on my money.
Mm. Well, what does Pakistanengal have? Do you know? 62211. Do make sure you write the word whole and then your answer.
Sorry.
And then your name.
843.
And send it into 62211 843. Yes, we are moving to 843 at the end of the month. So
Make no mistake about it.
Also, beat the presenter. Yes, this is our nightly feature, which is which is happening at 12 o'clock. Well, at 11 o'clock actually. I'm going to be playing in a tournament, so Caspar will be taking over.
Can you have a cup of herbal tea? Have a mug of herbal tea while you're playing, because I thought it helped me enormously.
I've got a normal cup of tea. Is that good enough?
Herbal.
Herbal, fair enough.
Peppermint.
Lemon. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing that at 11. So Caspar and I will switch seats, and I'll be answering all your difficult poker questions. And at 12 o'clock, we will be showing that tournament, and I'll be talking us through what I was thinking, and Caspar will be letting me know if I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing.
Brilliant.
Now, a lot of you are about 6 to 8 months into the game, which is exactly the same as I am. So it'll be interesting for you guys to watch me and see if you're at a similar level, or have you
Exceeded.
Exceeded, that's the word I was looking for. Exceeded to a better level, or have you not quite got there yet? It'll be very interesting to watch. And we'll try and stay friends through the whole experience.
Do you know what, can we just make a public announcement now? Michelle
Is
and
this
I
going to be horrible?
No, it's the opposite. Michelle and I are great friends, and we clot around on screen. That's because we're great friends. If we weren't such good friends, we wouldn't get away with it, or we wouldn't want to do it.
This stems back from the other day when people emailed in saying you'd been really horrible to me.
No, they were emailing in saying that the atmosphere you could cut with a knife. It was a two-way thing, Michelle. It wasn't like you were going,
you were picking
Caspar,
on me.
can I make a cup of tea? Is there anything else you want? And I was being rude to you. You refused to talk to me live on air. We've got the tape.
You were being mean.
You actually refused to talk to me.
We won't go into it. We'll discuss this later. We're actually going to head over to our multi-table tournament right now to see who's playing in that. So let's head there.
When you do that, when you hit me, people can see.
Can see what?
Yeah, when you hitting me, kick me under the table if you want to.
No, it was in a single shot, Caspar. Right, so this is our multi-table tournament.
A multi-table tournament.
And exactly the same as our single table sit and go, except there are many tables involved. 36 to be exact.
Can I just say, sorry to usurp your position, but I'm going to be in seat 1 later on tonight, so we may as well set the tone. Tim in Hull.
See, this is where people are getting their ideas from, Caspar. The attitude's just like that.
I want to go home. Tim in Hull has sent them joyous news. This is joyous news for me. I'm very, very excited, and I mean that, folks. Hi, chaps, he says. Just to let you know, there's a book called The Tao of Poker. It's by the same bloke what wrote Zen and the Art of Poker. Well worth a read. Sorry, he said that wrote, not what wrote. Isn't that exciting? Tao or Tao, depending on your pronunciation. That will be brilliant, because Zen and the Art of Poker is a really beautiful book, and Taoism has a lot more to say about poker than Zen, actually, than Buddhism.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So you're going to read that?
Without a doubt, this weekend, I expect.
Okay, we'll come back to it.
That's a genuinely exciting. That book will be smashing, and we'll have a lot more to say about the subject of mindset, folks, than what I can say tonight, because a lot of what I know I have learnt from authors like him. Don't claim to be any kind of world-leading expert in this subject, and that writer is. And what I'd say is that. And I've seen this happen over the course of presenting this show. When we first started doing this show 9 months ago, and you know, Tom and Axe started a year ago now, so much of it was about cards, yeah? And people weren't phoning in going, how do you survive the bad runs? Because they hadn't had any, or they didn't know what a run was. They just assumed that whatever poker was like for the first 3 weeks, that was what poker was, yeah? And we said, collectively, the people who've been playing a long time, more important than playing your cards is adjusting your mindset. And a lot of people, I think, scoffed when we said that. and more now the dominant subject matter for emails is bad run, how do I deal with it? Tilt, how do I deal with it? Bad beats, how do I deal with them?
And all things that happen over your poker life.
At the end of the day, poker is not about having the greatest forearm in the world, or the forehand, I mean, like a shot, or being able to strike penalties with the force of God. Poker is about being able to make decisions, and in order to make decisions, you have to have the clearest mind and the best possible decision-making faculties about you, and that is about the ability to control your thoughts, control your emotions, and all that stuff, which broadly comes under the heading of, spiritualism, self-development, that sort of arena.
Okay, well, you'll have to let us know how that book, how it reads. This particular multi-table tournament we're watching right now, just to give the gals and girls a bit of info on it, we had 285 entrants. It's a $10 entry, so it'll actually cost you $11 to sit down here, because you pay $10 for the game, and then obviously $1 to the house. The blinds are raised every 12 minutes. Now, in the sit and go we saw earlier, it was every 10 hands, wasn't it? So it's actually going to be every 12 minutes, and the top 30 places are paid. Now, $2,850 altogether, and first prize will be $783. And now we're actually down to 9 tables. So for those people out there that are slightly confused as to how this works, what happens as people are knocked out? Because we've got 9 tables involved, eventually that will become 1.
Okay, so we start off with 9 tables.
36 tables.
36 tables. And basically, let's say we number those tables 1 to 36, all right? So the number 36 is going to be the first table to break, okay? So once 8 people have bust out from all those other 35 tables, we're going to take 36, and we're going to take those 8 people, and we're going to use them to fill up those other tables. Right? Then table 35, exactly the same. Once we've lost another 8 people, including the people from table 35, we're going to break 35 and scatter them throughout the tournament, right?
Okay.
So we're going to keep our tables at roughly, we're going to keep the tables as full as we possibly can, right? Let's say we lose 3 people from one table, what we're going to do is we're going to go to tables that haven't lost anybody, and we're going to pick people up and we're going to seat them. All right, so we've always roughly got the same number of players per table to the nearest one.
Okay.
And when you're a tournament director, and particularly when you do them like I do for corporate dues and the like, the most annoying thing for these people, if they've had a few drinks, is being split up from their buddies and made to go and sit next to somebody else. But it's absolutely essential. It's what keeps the tournament running, and it's a necessary part of running a tournament. Okay,
so eventually all the tables will be condensed down to 1 after everybody else has been knocked out. So same as in the sit and go, once you've lost chips, you're gone.
Yes.
And then hopefully we'll be watching the last table a bit later. Now, bear in mind, top 30 are paid.
Yes.
But our last table will be the big money.
Yes.
Now, how is your tournament strategy going to change from a sit and go tournament to a multi-table tournament? Is it just a sit and go but bigger, so you can use whatever's working for you in a sit and go should work for you in a multi-table, or does it not work like that?
No.
So it doesn't work like that.
The problem with big questions like that, I mean, it's not a bad question, Michelle, at all. It's a cookie.
See, this is what you do. Can I just point out there why we're doing it? It's comments like that. What do you mean?
That's why you love me, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
No, it's a good question. The problem is there is no easy answer to that question. I don't think that's going to help people.
It is a question that a lot of people ask, though.
No, it's a good question. It's a good question. And what I'm saying is, it's really difficult to answer that in a way that helps people. So the answer is no, because the answer is a really long-winded look at how, what tournament strategy is. There are people that believe there is no such thing as tournament strategy, that until you get to the last, the money of a tournament, you should play the tournament with exactly the same decision-making criteria as you'd play a cash game. So in that regard, the answer is yes, they're exactly the same game, whether it's multi-table or tournament. Now, I'm not sure I agree with that, but again, the subtleties of these things, it's better for us to talk about them as they're going through and to talk about little details rather than trying to give these sweeping statements, because I don't think they help people.
No?
No, poker's just too complex to reduce it to 10 things to make your game better.
So keep watching is what you're telling
It's just
our
keep
viewers.
watching, yeah. Well, do you know what it is, Michelle? That is the best piece of advice you can give anyone. It's keep watching, keep reading, keep playing, keep learning from your own experiences, because these trite rules and statements just don't work for poker. They just don't work, and that's it. As you can probably tell, I'm getting all het up about it. When poker is taught badly like that, it drives me up the wall.
I do have a very good question here from
Good.
Garbit, which is something
Excellent.
that I would like to hear the answer to as
Fantastic.
well, so I'm glad it's here. He says, hi, my question is, when a flop comes down, something like 2-6-8, all different suits, and you put someone on top pair, so in this situation, you put him on the 8, so say he's top pair of 8. Now, say you have 2 overcards, so you've got an ace and a 10, or an ace-jack, or an ace-queen. What are your chances of hitting your other cards? And is it worth calling the small raise or 3 times the big blind bet to see the turn card? And thank you very much for this, Garby, because I find myself in this situation a lot where I've raised pre-flop, it's come out, I haven't hit anything, but I do have overcards. I'm not first to act, but the person that, if I'm first to act, I'll probably bet out. But I'm not first to act, and the other person bets out. And you do have 2 overcards, but you still have nothing. So is it worth to call the small raise?
First of all, I would rarely bet out in that situation.
Right.
If I'd raised from later on position and someone had checked to me, I would bet.
Yeah.
But if you've missed the flop completely like that, I personally wouldn't bet out as a matter of course.
Right, okay.
I really wouldn't, and certainly not in an average cash game. Here's the situation. Let's say you've got ace-10. There are 3 more aces and 3 more 10s somewhere in the deck. They could have been in people's hands that are folded. They could be in your other guy's hands. It doesn't matter where they are. They're somewhere, right? So you have 6 cards, and you have 2 opportunities to hit them, all right? So that is 12 chances out of 45 potential cards in the deck. So you've roughly got a 1 in 4 chance of hitting one of your cards. Okay, I think that's right. So it's a little bit less. It's between 1 in 3 and 1 in 4. So those are your odds. So if he's giving you, let's say, 5 to 1 on the bet, then it's definitely correct to call. Well, no, that's not true. It's not definitely correct to call. If he's giving you 5 to 1, then he's making a mistake with his bet, all right? But it might be correct to call. One of the reasons why I quite like it when the flop comes as low as 8 high is because there's so many overcards that can fall that will scare him. So, for example, if on the turn it comes 9, 10, and certainly if it comes Jack, Queen, King high, then it doesn't matter whether it's hit your cards or not. If he bets and you raise in that situation, he's going to have a big decision to make. Yeah. So that's what I would be thinking, rather than the actual pot odds. It's what Graham said when he was on the show the other day. It's how likely is the guy to fold when you bet out on the turn or later. So those are the sort of things to think about. It's a really good question, and we will come back to it later in the show.
And I'm going to have to pick you up on something as well there. We'll do that when we come back from the break. And we are going to a small break now, but when we return, I'll be playing, and we'll be answering that question. So see you then.
Hi folks, and welcome back to Poker Night Live. Can you spot the difference? That's right, the show's going to be a lot better.
Caspar!
No, that was offensive.
Yes, because I'm in seat 2.
Let's just pick up on that conversation that we were having in the break, which was actually very interesting. All right, so what were you going to say about my answer? So we raised before the flop.
I was saying we're raising before the flop with ace queen, or ace jack, or ace 10, or even ace king. There's one person's come along for the ride.
In later position, they call you.
They're in later position, they call you. Flop comes down something low, say 2, 7, 10 or something. So you've got 2 overcards. You're first to act. Because you raised before the flop, can you then bet out? And usually you would think, because you're the raiser before the flop, and because the flop is low, chances are they've missed as well, so you bet out, you be aggressive, and you should be able to take the pot down. Okay.
Now, this is an example of something I was talking about earlier, which is advice which is trite and short and seems to be brilliant. And if poker were that easy, then we'd all be making money at it. And of course, we can't all make money at it because it's a zero-sum game. So for one person to make money, someone else has to lose money. So my point about this is, you know what's frustrating? Is I can't remember the day or the time or the year or what have you when I realised that a piece of advice like that was useless without so much context, like, who is this person who's called me? Because let me tell you something, he's called me in later position. Well, if he's a good player, in fact, he's a half-decent player, certainly if he's one of you guys out in this audience, he knows that he's got a better hand to call than you have to raise. So unless you've got an obscenely good hand, if you've got ace-jack and he calls you in later position, chances are he's got a better hand than that. Now, second thing, when the flop comes down, you've missed it, you don't have any information what this guy's done. This flop could have smashed him over the head, and you're going to bet out with any of that information. And this is the problem with playing hands in early position. This is why you need good hands to play in early position, because you don't have any of the benefits of information, so you've got to have the benefits of good cards. So now, whilst Michelle's point works in abstract, or not your point, but the point that you've been told, which is, all right, you've raised before the flop, and therefore good aggressive players to bet and take it down, and I'm not saying I never do it, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is I'm taking all those factors into account. Like, for example, what does this player think of me? Does he think that I'm a really tight player who only plays when I've got cards, and I must have a good pair like jacks in that situation? So is he going to lay down ace-king? Because if he doesn't lay down ace-king, or if he doesn't lay down ace-10, you know, even though I've got ace-jack, I bet out and he calls me, I've got no idea where I am. I can't put the guy on ace-10 even though I've got ace-jack. As far as I'm concerned at that situation, I'm now in the situation on the turn where I don't know where I am, I know that I still haven't got anything, and I don't know what he's got. Yeah. So when you bet out of position like that, you're putting yourself in a really dodgy situation, which, as all sorts of you text and email in with this point, which is you make a bluff, someone calls you, you get sucked into a hand, and before you know it, you're at a river and you've blown half your stack. All right? Happens all the time. So that's why this canny advice of you the better, the raiser before the flop, then bet out and take advantage of it, is not so canny, really, and it needs to be put in with all sorts of other things. And that's why when I say this, you know, I don't mean to patronise beginning players on an amateur night. What I'm saying is, do keep watching, do keep learning all those different things, because you know what? One day, you sit down and you play poker and you just do that and you just make a great judgment call and you don't even know how you did it anymore. But what I certainly know is it hasn't been done simply because you've applied these 3 easy steps. Poker's not like that.
Well, thank you, Cass.
I'm looking to you to be a host.
It's really surprising as well, yes.
That's the natural thing.
No, but you're right. It's so odd how you find yourself doing something. And to be fair, that aggressive style, because I'm a tight player, can work for me. Has worked
and that's
for me
great.
at some point.
That's great.
But like you say, as soon as you get called, the next card comes out, and even if you hit, say, your queen or your jack, all of a sudden you're thinking, well, I don't actually know where I am. It's going to cost you more money to find out.
And that's losses. Now listen, you need to play in a game.
I do.
We're going to play What's in the Hole, and then we're going to get to a bit of a cash game. So first of all...
Yeah, so you might lose me for a while.
Yeah, well, look, you concentrate on that. You try and log in, and we will go to What's in the Hole. Question mark, 2 question marks, because it's a big question. There's that button, question mark, and bets 1. Small blind correctly raises it up with jacks. Clay in big blind correctly folds. The button calls. Flop comes 7-7-9, 2 spades. 2 spades. Small blind bets out. Good bet. Button just calls. Small blind doesn't like that king. Doesn't like the call. Checks to it. Just 1. Into a pot of 21, giving small blind 22-1 pot odds. 22-1. Checks the river. 3 spades on board. And small blind correctly folds, but what's in the hole? What did the button have in the hole? Text hole, and your answer to 62211. That's 62211. And we will get the answer to that at midnight tomorrow. So not much time to get your answers in. Oh, is it midnight tonight?
Yes,
midnight tonight. Quite new at this. So we'll get the answer to that a little bit later, and that, of course, will kick off a new competition. And bear in mind, we're going to start creating a leaderboard for the number of people who get in the right answer at any one time. Can't wait to see the answer. I genuinely don't know, but it's a mystery, because I tell you what, his bet on the turn is weird. All right, folks, Michelle is logging into a tournament, and we are going to get to a cash game. 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. Here it comes. So, 4 aces on board there.
Scary flop there.
Cincinnati Kid.
Actually, 3 hearts, isn't
What
it?
are you doing?
I'm not playing yet,
Well,
so I'm
what's it-
helping.
Well, concentrate on the... You've got to let go, Michelle.
I can multitask, though, Caspar.
No,
I'm
can't.
female, remember?
Cincinnati Kid, ace 3, ace on the flop. Break back there, has a jack, has third pair, correctly checks it. Now, look, Cincinnati Kid's got a less good kicker, but he had 4 to the flush. No, didn't like it. Check, checks. $25, 50-cent cash game. Cyberdoc raises it up with King Jack, and I don't like that raise from Cyberdoc, I've got to be honest with you. I'm either trying to isolate it there or muck 'em, to be honest with you. King Jack plays terribly multi-way, and in this game we've really got to be, I think, if you want to push King Jack through, that's fine, but we had a first position caller there with Queen Jack suited. Obviously, Cyberdoc doesn't know what he's got, but I'll tell you what I don't want to be doing. I don't want to be making a little pot building raise with King Jack. Cyberdoc there, folds Queen 6. A7 suited, just calls, which is okay. Might have put in even a little raise in that late position for stealing value, but I might not. That's one of those Caro's law of loose wiring things, where sometimes you do one thing, and sometimes you do the other. And it's hard to put your finger on exactly what makes the difference. Cyberdoc sitting in the big blind now with a pair of 9s, wants Olaf, after this little period of thought, to make the decision to raise him up. When players fold. Got a few hands dealt there, over 100 hands in most cases. Let's see. Rake back rat. Now, interesting. He's playing 50% of hands. I wonder why that might be, folks. Is it because he's playing for the rake back? Sometimes to get these bonuses and all sorts of things, you have to play a certain number of hands. So I wonder if he's developing a style which is profitable, which plays loose and also benefits from all sorts of rake back advantages. Up the top there, Buffy Be Good, only playing 18% of hands pre-flop, folding 82%. And as sometimes happens, not always, we can see a correlation there between the percentage played pre-flop, leading to a small post-flop fold, and rake back rat folding a lot more often on the flop. And for me though, rake back rat probably should be folding more than that on the flop if he was a profitable player. So I don't know rake back rat personally. He could be a billionaire for all I know, but that doesn't look for me like a profitable playing statistic. But we'll see. Well, we'll see how he does in this session. Cyberduck in late position. And there's Buffy, the tightest player at the table. Jacks, Buffy raises it up. Absolutely correct. Don't be disappointed when that happens and everyone folds. There's nothing to be upset about. Take your money and accept that over the course of your poker playing career, folks, you'll play millions of pairs of jacks. Sometimes you'll win it there and then. Sometimes you'll be outdrawn. All sorts of things will happen. That's poker. So it up, obviously multi-tabling, thinking about what to do with Jack 3. Now, Rakeback Rat, shown to be quite a loose player. Olaf has top pair, and Cincinnati Kid has 4 to the inside straight draw, which is quite a common situation that we see here, where players will bet out or call to hit their inside straight. Now, Cincinnati bet out, that's different to calling. Olaf definitely has a raise here, and for me, a slightly bigger raise than that, because if Olaf is going to call to his inside straight, that's a wonderful situation. As happened, Cincinnati correctly folded. But that inside straight, that inside top straight is a really terrible situation, folks, and to be thrown away as trash every time. Got an interesting email here from James, aka Dr. Flop. I like that name, Dr. Flop, Dr-Flop. He says, when having a bad run and getting tilty, I find watching P&L good. I can see all the players' cards and see that everyone gets the same bad beats and swings in luck that the poker gods deal out. It helps me refocus and become a winning poker player and not a maniac. I should probably watch you more often. Well, James, you know, never a truer word was said. That is the advice to end all pieces of advice. You should indeed watch us very often. What's the interesting thing about that, folks? Well, the interesting thing is that let's just break down what causes tilt. Okay, why do we feel tilty? Well, you might say the obvious answer is because you just lost some money. And of course, losing money is never a pleasant experience, and therefore tilt kicks in. But one of the reasons why you've lost money, or one of the reasons why you feel emotionally aggrieved, is because you feel that you've just been unlucky. Have a think about that word. What is it to be unlucky? What is bad luck? It's a sense or feeling that you have been harder done by than other people. On that particular occasion, this other guy got better cards than you throughout the night, or maybe he had worse cards and put his money in stupidly, and by the end, he made the winning hand. Now that's a pretty bad feeling, but it's important to understand where and why that feeling is coming from. And it does come from feeling aggrieved. Now what Dr. Flopper said there is very, very interesting, is that actually a really good cure to feeling aggrieved is to see that everyone gets good and bad luck. Everybody. And as he points out, just a night of watching P&L, and you'll see a number of outdraws, you'll see a number of people get lousy cards all night, you'll see some players lose significant sums of money in those bigger cash games, significant sums to them in the smaller cash games. There's no inherent unfairness, actually. It is just what poker is. And actually, you know, the skill of playing poker is adapting to that calmly, confidently, and coming out of it all the time knowing that you haven't been unlucky in life, you've just had a bad night at a table of a silly card game. And that tomorrow night you could have wonderful luck. It's always tougher if you've had a long run in poker. It's perfectly possible to have played poker for 3, 4, 5 months and never had a nice juicy tournament win because those cards just haven't gone for you, because as we're often discussing, I had a big long conversation with Mark about it, the long run is longer in multi-table tournaments than in cash games or sit and goes. So it feels like luck plays a bigger part, and in fact that might be a way of expressing it, but it's not luck, it's just, you know, the standard deviation is greater and takes a longer time to overcome. And you know what? The cards never break completely even in the end. We had this big discussion. The long run is a long period of time, but the point about the long run is that the proportional difference between someone who's been very lucky and someone who's been very unlucky becomes much smaller. In other words, if we toss a coin, let's say, 10 times, the difference between heads and tails over the course of 10 spins, maybe 3, 4, 5 or 6, something like that. Could even be 10. Could it be 10-0 in a freakishly statistically outrageous outcome? But the point is, when you hit the long run, the proportion becomes much less. You'd never have a 60% deviation if you toss that coin 100,000 times. It would probably be down to something like 0.6% at the absolute most. But the actual deviation is going to be more than 6 spins. 0.6% of 100,000 is, I've talked myself into a mathematical cul-de-sac live on air, but it's something like 60 or 600. Someone help me out. It's more than 6 is the point. So whilst the actual amounts become greater, so over the course of your poker career, the difference between a winner and a loser in the long run is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but hundreds of thousands of dollars spread over the course of 20 or 30 years is actually just a couple of $1,000s a year, if that. And so in the long run, those deviations and differences become proportionately smaller. And it's just a question of understanding that and knowing that, yeah, you could be unlucky and you could be 2,000 a year down on someone who's lucky, or you could be lucky, you could be 2,000 a year up. What's kind of skewing that these days is tournaments like the World Series and these huge 2, 3, 4, 5, 10,000 runner fields. And the effect of those is you're never, ever going to overcome the statistical deviation of a win in the World Series. I mean, you're never going to lose $7.5 million in your poker playing career, or if you are, you're a really bad player playing really badly and having bad luck. That's the only way to do that. The buy-ins just aren't great enough to lose $7.5 million. So sometimes a really big tournament win can, in some cases, make you a winner for life. And you might say, well, that person's never going to hit the long run. And I would agree with you in that situation. Very difficult to do so. And arguably, there are players who we know as household names, and I wouldn't dream of mentioning one, who had some lucky runs in poker a little while ago, about 3, 4, 5 years ago, when poker was just sort of taking off and the names were being created. And those players became the ones that we know. They're not all of them, obviously. There are players that are still making those final tables day in, day out now. But there's a couple, certainly, who made a bit of a name, and the results have dried up. And people know, in the long run, who's taken the money down as a good player and who's just hit that sort of period of streak. U-Turn, meanwhile, has hit his ace and takes it now. Meanwhile, folks, you can hear the tap of keys next to me because Night Nurse and our producer are trying to get on a table.
No one's letting me in, Caspar.
Can I just say, if you want to play with Night Nurse, someone has to stand aside, because if you all just like...
No, but 3 people have stood aside and other people have then nicked it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No, I'm saying the people that nick it have to stand aside, because you're all trying to get on telly. Let me just make something really, really clear. You're not going to get on telly unless the Night Nurse is on the table. So taking the final seat when the Night Nurse isn't there is the act of a moron. Okay? You may as well play on a non-telly table. I don't know if that's at all clear, but if you want to get on telly, the Night Nurse has to be there. Okay? So we might not get a Beat the Presenter game tonight because a couple of people have decided that they want to play poker off the telly on a telly table, which is ironic and bizarre. If you're one of the regulars, if you could do the decent thing, you know we here at P&L love you and appreciate any help that you can give us.
They are trying to help, bless them.
I know they are.
We'll get there in the end.
The Tao of Poker, I can't wait.
How are you doing anyway, Caspar? Are you doing all right there?
I'm doing brilliant.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Loving doing the show by
Just
myself.
give me a shout if you need anything.
Loving it.
Good.
Well, I need an anchor. That's what I need. I need someone to ask me questions.
I'll ask you a question.
How the hell
What's
do you get
the
on a telly table?
wingspan velocity of an unladen swallow?
What's the wingspan velocity?
Mhm.
Oh, wingspan and velocity.
Yeah, of an unladen sparrow.
Swallow or sparrow?
Sparrow?
You said swallow.
I meant sparrow.
There is no such
All
thing as
those
a laden
Monty
sparrow.
Do you know what? I got that off Monty Python. So why don't you ring up the producers, Monty Python, have a word with them?
Do you mean in the Holy Grail?
Yeah. Have I got it wrong?
Because it's supposed to be, is it a European or an African swallow?
No, it's not. It's something about wingspan velocity.
Okay, well, it's a good story.
Thanks.
Yeah, the quest for a seat continues. I may be doing this for quite some time tonight, so settle in, viewers. Why not email your questions to me? I'll tell you why not, because the producer's trying to get on a table and the emails aren't getting through to me. But do email me anyway, because, you know, I love to read them. Apparently we've got someone hot on the case sending the emails through, so if you want to alleviate the boredom of my inability to comment on the game of poker, ask me some questions, why don't you? How do you play jacks in first position? Anyone?
How do you play jacks?
I find it very difficult.
There's an overcard, put it down to a raise.
It's as good as anything you'll hear from me.
Well, you're first to act, so what do? You got jacks and there's an ace out there. Do you bet or do you wait and see?
Smooth
Someone else
call.
does?
Smooth call. It's not such bad advice, actually. 30. Ooh, my hat. Those trippity trips have come out swinging, as TJ Cloutier likes to say. TJ Cloutier, a master of the trite advice. Anyone who's read his championship series will know that. Now, don't get me wrong, folks. I bloody love TJ. He's one of my favourite players of all time. But he does give some platitudinous, if you do this, everything will be fine advice in his books, and certainly doesn't teach you how to play like TJ. Do you want me to announce, trying to save you a seat, Michelle?
No, I'm going to get a seat on this one.
Do you want me to say which number you're going for?
I'm going seat 1.
Okay, so seat 1 in the...
Oh, I'm not sure. I think it's $20.
It's
Yeah,
a $20. So, folks, seat 1 in the next $20 table.
You're not allowed to touch
Just
it.
to try and preserve the format of the show and make sure we're not here till 4 in the morning. If you could all be good enough just to...
Look, Fast Bandit's coming as well now, telling everybody what for.
Take it to the bridge with hands dealt. A couple of that over 100. Brumsky, presumably someone from Birmingham, is raising up 21% of pre-flop hands. Look at that. Satan still is Aggressive Self. And Cincinnati Kid. And Cincinnati Kid's still playing 30% of pre-flop hands. Who's the tightest there? It's Stan. Stan the man. Jolly good. Well, I've got an email here from Paul Vaughan, who says, you right there? Yeah. Seat 1.
Seat 1.
Seat 1. Stay away, or we're going to walk out the studio. How about that? No more P&L. Email from Paul Vaughan. He says, hi there, fantastic show tonight! Exclamation mark. Thank you, Paul. I'm relatively new to poker, and 6 months, and mainly play sit and goes and multi-table tournaments. I'd like to move to live poker in a casino, but the casino locally have no limit, 10-20 buy-in, and have unlimited rebuys for the first hour. This does concern me, as I'd prefer a freeze-out for my first live tournament. What do you think? Also, could you go over implied odds, as I still have trouble grasping it? Cheers, keep up the tremendous work. OK, we will do both of that, Paul. First thing is, why would you prefer a freeze-out? I mean, one of the ways to think about that $10, $20 buy-in is, if it's a bankroll question, you do need a big bankroll to play $10, $20 buy-in tournaments with any kind of certainty. I mean, fine, have some fun, but to play $10, $20 buy-in tournaments, you know, you've got to have a bankroll of a good couple of £1,000 to do it properly. So do you have a bankroll of a couple of £1,000, or is that your concern? Because you'd be right to be concerned, so it's absolutely correct. Basically, you should be seeing a $10, $20 buy-in tournament as one of two things. Either a very, very long-run exercise where you give yourself two buy-ins per night, and you're going to make the money very, very rarely, but when you make it, you're going to get a lot of overlay to your money, in which case it's fine, but you have got to be prepared and disciplined enough to get up and to walk away if you bust out in the first, after your first 2 buy-ins. You could be busting out during the rebuy period, and that's quite embarrassing sometimes to walk away during the rebuy period, so you've got to be disciplined to do that, and if you don't think you can be, don't play in it. Or you've got to see it as a 40-80 pound buy-in tournament, and that's not a small tournament. In fact, you might even need to see it as a 50-100 pound buy-in tournament. One of the best pieces of advice that I was given by a very well-known pro is to see a tournament like that as just that, a 50-100 pound buy-in tournament, and to only play in it once a week if you felt that made more sense to you financially. Now, that doesn't change your bankroll. Okay, your bankroll has no bearing on how often you play in it, because your bankroll is about the long run, and the long run is dictated by the number of times you play in it, not the amount of time that passes. But it might make it easier for you personally to come to terms with. All right. Now, I say that advice on an amateur night. I wouldn't say it on a pro night, because there are all sorts of caveats to that, and there's reasons why that doesn't really work or make sense mathematically. But if that helps you come to terms with it, Paul, then do that. My advice is this. A dealer said something to me once which really freaked me out. Do you know what? It's in my very first trip to Vegas, which I've already quoted tonight with Connie, and it was Al, a dealer called Al. I'm remembering all this from 1996, so I'm not doing badly. And Al said to me, I said, why would you play Let It Ride? It's a really stupid game, because most of your hands are pushes. Are they? Is someone actually sitting in seat 1?
Yeah,
Shall I name and shame them?
Yes, Olaf was sat in my seat. And I clicked on that from the beginning. That's not even funny. I think my clicker's not working.
Olaf's put LOL. Well, you can put LOL, Olaf, but you're not going to be playing on the telly. So you're playing a telly table, not on the telly. Because unless Michelle gets on the table, it's not going to be televised. That's not us being...
Let's try a different one.
It's not us threatening, it's just the situation. Yeah, someone's put Muppets. I agree. What can we say? Anyway, what did Al say? Al said, "Let It Ride" was a good game, yeah. And I said, "Well, it's a stupid game."
Yay.
And then I put, I guess the only thing that's good about "Let It Ride" is, are you on?
Yes, I'm on.
Fantastic.
Thank you, gentlemen on the $30 table.
Thank you,
and
gentlemen.
ladies.
Thank you, gentlemen. Jolly good.
Right, now I'm going to go out first hand.
The chip nurse is in the house. Anyway, we were talking about Let It Ride, where you push a lot of your hands. And I said, well, I guess it's okay, because at least your money will last a long time. And Al said to me, what's the point of that? I said, well, you know, that's what you're doing when you're gambling, isn't it? And Al said, the point of gambling is to make money. And that completely freaked me out for a bit, because I'd only ever seen my trips to Vegas as a way to have fun, not a way to make money. And if you're playing roulette and Let It Ride and blackjack as a way to make money, then you're as stupid as people who sit in seat 1 while Michelle's trying to get on a table. There's no way to make money. I can't even remember the point of that anecdote now, folks, to be honest with you. But Paul, I hope the beginning of that whole thing has helped you to decide whether to have a $10 or $20 buy-in. Let's get back to a game, and we'll talk about the second part of your question, implied odds over the top of some poker action. Here it comes. So, Michelle is now playing in the $30 game.
You're working, have you been working hard, aren't you now?
No mean challenge, I am working very hard. And over the top of this multi-table tournament, I'm going to discuss a little bit about implied odds. Okay, Paul Vaughan. Implied odds are a very important concept, as we have a look at Beat the Presenter, where every night from 11, a Poker Night Live presenter will be pitting their wits against one of the on the televised tables, live on screen. The game will then be commentated on at 12 AM. If you're logging in at 11 PM, do make room for the Poker Night Live presenter, or the Beat the Presenter section will not happen. So, implied odds, it's very simple, Paul. It's a measure, if you like, of how much bigger the pot is likely to get by the end of the hand. That's it, in a nutshell. Implied odds, what it means is how much money can we infer is going to be in the pot at the end? What implication is there that this pot is going to be massive by the end of the hand? It's a measure of how much bigger the pot is going to be by the end of the hand than now, if you hit your hand. How much can you extract from your opponent if you hit your hand? So it's a function of three things. Number one, the number of players. The more the players, the bigger the implied odds. Number two, those players' propensity to pay you off when you hit your hand. So the less good the players, the bigger the implied odds. And number three, how hidden is your hand? So flushes, of course, are always very, very public. Everyone can see when there's three suits on the board, screams out at you. Straights and trips are much more hidden. So straights and trips have greater implied odds. Hands where you play Jack 5 and you hit Jack 5-5 have greater implied odds, because no one's going to put you on Jack 5. So that's what it is. Whereas pot odds is just a measure of how much money is in the pot at that point in relation to your bet. Implied odds is how much money could there be in the end of the pot if you win the hand in relation to your bet. I hope that sorts it out with Paul, and what I'll do is we'll look at the MTT now and try and point out a couple of situations where we'll guess the implied odds. We've got 22 players left in this MTT over 3 tables, and as Michelle was telling us at the beginning of the day, this MTT has 285 entrants, started off with 36 tables, the 12-minute blinds, and 30 places are paid. First place pays $783. $783. How's the chip nurse?
Just, getting into it.
Getting into it. Getting used to the site?
Surely, yes.
And the
Getting
graphics?
used. Well, I come third on Monday, so I have to at least come third. But it doesn't work like that, does it?
If only it did.
Unfortunately.
If only it did. I'd be coming first in every tournament I ever played in if it did. So, has anyone hit their flop here? JJ has hit it with a 4 and a king, and Ace 3-2-2-3-2-2-2-3 has hit it with a 4 and a queen. But look at that. The first person to bet out, isn't that funny, is Gaza, and that's position, position, position. Gaza raises it up with his king-jack. A fascinating example there, folks, of how position wins out over cards. Both JJ and Ace had Gaza beaten, but Gaza with a position, and J and Ace's poor cards, they were in the blinds, so no offence to them, won out. Mr. Lawrence in the small blind. Now he has put quite a big proportion of his stack in here, but oh, that 2-3 is horrible, isn't it? Horrible. Worst hand heads up. People talk about 7-2. There's a time to play and a time to fold. Ace-king for Jaded. Got a little over 10 big blinds in his stack. Should he be raising it up 3 times the big blind or moving all in here? Opinions divided. I would say 2.5 to 3 times the big blind raise here. I probably wouldn't have folded it, I'll be honest. I think, did he time out there, or did he maybe just hit the wrong button? That would be horrible if you just hit the wrong button, or maybe Jaded's just playing a different kind of strategy. Different kind of strategy. Yeah, if you bet 2.5 times to 3 times the big blind there, we can get away from it.
Can I just very quickly say Steve Aldino?
You got a shout out?
A little request.
Yeah.
I can't do lots, but I thought, oh, bless, I'll do one.
I was saying spoons all throughout mine. Spoons was asking me to shout out. There is quite a lot going on, isn't there, when we're playing in those tournament tables? It's hard to read all the chat and concentrate on the game. Signor Whippy has moved all in with ace queen, and Will has no call. That took me by surprise. Said we want a progress report on Michelle, but we're not allowed to give progress reports on Michelle. Yeah, don't worry. Easy does it.
Are you all right there, Cass?
I'm absolutely having a ball.
Excellent.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to read a quick email here from Levi, because we're not allowed to get a progress report from you, because it's all going to be secret. And Levi says, "Hi Cass and Michelle, I'm really enjoying the show. I was watching the Monte Carlo Millions show that you have on Poker Zone, and I noticed that the Swedish poker players are doing really well at the moment. Cass, do you have any thoughts as to why the Scandinavian players seem to be so good at Hold'em? They seem to have an inner calm where the bad beats don't really mess with their minds too much. Are we going to see the Bjorn Borg of poker emerge at some point in the near future, do you think, Cass? Could I ask, which Hold'em player do you admire the most? Have a great weekend, guys." Thanks, Levi. Right, okay, well, in terms of Swedish players, despite having done anthropology at university, I have no idea of anything about Sweden or its culture, and I'm quite ashamed by that. Someone once said to me something about this, and I don't know whether they were joking or not, so I'm probably going to come across as a muppet live on air now to thousands of people when I say that apparently one of the reasons why poker's so popular in Scandinavia is because it's cold outside. So playing online poker is quite a good practical thing to do. Makes sense. Now, what does that have to do with good players, I hear you say? Well, as Edison once said, if you want to have a good idea, have a lot of them. If you want to have a good poker player, have a lot of them. So if there's a lot of people playing poker, that means there's more players for the cream to rise to the top. So that might be one thing. I just don't know anything about the Scandinavian sort of mentality, but I guess they do always seem to be much more laid back, don't they? Certainly in porn films than the British. And that's literally all I know about Scandinavia. So makes sense, makes sense. I agree with you though. They certainly have good record and they're doing very well. So good for them. Which Hold'em player do I admire the most? I think I admire TJ, and I say that with a lot of joy in my heart, because I've criticised his books. I really don't like his books, but I do. You can't knock TJ's records. I think I admire players with great records, basically. I think there's some real fantastic characters coming through in the game now, like Unabomber, like Magician, like Gus Hansen. But I like players with long-term winning records. One of my favourite blokes in the game is Barney Boatman, who I've had the pleasure of meeting once, and a more intelligent, nicer, funnier, better player you couldn't hope to meet. And indeed the Elegance, Joe Beavers, and it was great to have him on this show once. I'd like to have him on again, definitely. But to be honest with you, when you're talking about great players and who I admire the most, there are only 2 names, I think, in poker, given that I'm really too young to know much about Johnny Moss, and they are Doyle Brunson and Stu the Kid Unger. Doyle Brunson, again, record just stacks up there with the best of them. He's a legend in the game, and he's still winning. I mean, this guy is, shouldn't be leaving the house, and he's still winning tournaments and winning them big time. And I admire that so much. But I've recalled this many, many times here on this show. Apparently, Dealer in Binions once told me that a number of the greats in the game, Doyle, Sailor Roberts, Amarillo Slim, were all sitting around a table in Binions, and someone said, so who do we think is the greatest no-limit player of all time? And apparently Doyle said, well, there's Stewie. And that's as far as the conversation got. And I think, basically, if you know anything about poker, you have to appreciate Stu the Kid Unger as the greatest player who ever picked up a deck of cards. As Stu Unger once said of himself, the only person that's ever beaten me at cards is me. Stewie Unger was the greatest gin rummy player ever to walk the face of the planet. He was so good, the mob used to back him, and he used to have to give players a handicap in gin, because no one would play him otherwise. I don't know the details of gin, but whatever it was, he used to give players obscene handicaps, and he would still beat them. Apparently, gin is quite like poker. There's quite a high variance, so you have to have a really heavy edge to win, consistently over the course of a number of games. And Stewie once played the guy who was regarded as the second best gin player in the world, and he gave him no handicap, and he won 27 games straight. That's how good he was. That should be technically impossible. Stewie had the most awesome photographic memory, and a lot of people go, oh, he's just got a photographic memory. Yeah, but he had a photographic memory, so let's not take it away from him. He had the most ridiculous mathematical brain. He was literally a genius. And what's fascinating about Stewie is that instead of going off to work for NASA or the CIA or becoming, a multi-billion-dollar businessman, he applied it in poker. And unfortunately, poor old Stewie, as he said himself, the only person who ever beat him at cards was him. He lost a lot of that talent to some serious drug abuse and died very young. One of the greatest tragedies in the game. But literally, that's my answer. That's who I admire most in poker. A ridiculously talented, brilliant man. We've got another game of poker for you, folks. Back to the multi-table. How are you doing, Shal?
Well, I think it's about time I got a hand, to be fair.
That's what losers say, isn't it?
Oh, yes. See, I'm under pressure because you won.
I don't want my win, which has obviously precipitated a lot of very lovely chat in the forums. I don't want that to apply any pressure to any other tournaments, any other commentators who haven't won at all, in any other tournaments played online to the viewing public. I don't want that to apply any pressure to you. That's the point that I'm making. I want you all to know that you're all good, decent people in your own right. Special, valuable, and I'm proud to work with you all. Wins aren't everything, are they? And there's a serious note in that, to be completely honest with you. I've been very flattered by some of the thoughts on the forums and all the rest of it. But you know what? Genuinely anyone can win. From the 8 that sit around a multi-table tournament at the beginning of the tournament, any single one of those people can win. The worst player can win, the best player can win. I've tournament directed a number of tournaments now in my life, and I've seen the worst player in the room win on more than one occasion, and I've seen the best player in the room win. And in the short run, poker is a luck game. Now, I'm not saying I played a great game, I'm not saying I played an awful game. The point is, I got good cards.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I would say a good 70% of emails that we get on this show are about people who are playing their results. In other words, they let bad results let bad results make them think that they're playing badly, and they let good results lull them into a false sense of, not security, but self-respect, if you like. And one of the things that I do in my consultancy when I take these principles to third parties is to try and move away in poker, business and in life, away from a results-based analysis and towards an underlying skill set analysis or an underlying actions analysis. Because really what should be a judge of whether you're playing well or badly should be whether you're playing well or badly, not the results that you get. And any manager in business or any poker player in poker who can't analyse something at an underlying fundamental level, in other words, if you don't know whether someone's playing poker well, or you don't know whether someone's selling well, or you don't know whether someone's managing a team well, the one way that you shouldn't be trying to find that out is by looking at their results. It should be a factor in the long run, but someone's poker talent exists independent of their results.
And also, you can go out very early in a tournament by making the right decision as well, can't you?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
So a shout out to FK Ace and Gilberto and Fallen Angel and the Posh Boy and Stanters and Kansas Coyote and poor old QP that was in a bit earlier. Big shout out to everybody. No, I'm not going to call that.
I think what you're doing now is just talking out loud.
Just talking out loud to myself,
Thinking
live
out
on
loud.
air.
Don't know what I'm saying. Jaded J raises it up from the small blind. That's a powerful move, folks. When someone raises it up from the small blind, JJ, absolutely right to fold. Good stuff. Okay, folks, we're going to be getting back to that multi-table a little bit later. Lots of poker action from a variety of tables to be showing you. Right now, we're going to show you for the last time, tremendously exciting, what's in the hole. I've just made that song up, so we don't need to pay any rights. Can I just point that to the producer? That is my own jingle. Some people would buy that for millions, just like the all mash get smashed sound. Here we go. What's in the hole? Button has... What do they have? They called for 1. The small blind raises it to 4. The big blind folds. The button thinks about it, and then calls. Flop comes 7-7-9, 2 spades. The jacks. Bet out. Button. Smooth calls. The jacks see the king, and the 2 spades, and the 2 sevens, and just check. And Pakistan angle bets 1. Just the 1. A little teaser bet. And there's the 6 of spades on the end. What does that mean? Jacks check. Pakistan angle goes all in. And the jacks fold. So by definition, Pakistan angle takes it down. What is in the hole? What's in the hole? Text hole and your answer to 62211. You've just got a couple of minutes, folks, to get your winning answer in before the end of this part of the show, and the answer will be read out, revealed after midnight. After midnight, very exciting. Now, one of the people that said, was commenting on my play on the forums was Camcorder Steve. We've got an email from aforementioned Camcorder Steve. It says, "Hi Caspar and Michelle." Really just Caspar at the moment. Well, it's, you're out of, you just got to accept that I'm in the chair. I'm playing a multi-table tournament at the moment. Shame it wasn't on P&L tonight. Yeah, well, you were probably sitting in Michelle's seat. I got Jack. No, I'm sorry, that's a joke, Michelle. Steve. I got Jack in early position and limped in for the minimum of 200 chips. We had a 5-way pot. How do you think I felt when the flop came? Jack 5 Jack. I hope this isn't a bad beat story, Steve, because this is going to be outrageous. Jack 5 Jack. He's just flopped quads. Just like the Spice Girls. I tell you, I love Jack now, but my problem was how to get the maximum from this hand. Yes, it was, by crikey. I raised minimum after the flop, again after the turn, and 400 after the river. In the end, I won 1,800 chips, but didn't have to show my hand. Do you think I should have shown my hand to get table respect, or did I do right in not showing? The show just gets better. Good luck, Michelle. Well, go easy on her. I'm surprised you bet the flop, I've got to be honest with you. With 5 players and you flop quads, I would have checked the flop, I think, in that situation. It's the classic case of wanting other people to catch up. So you won 1,800 chips, that's great, but you didn't show your hand. The question as to whether you show your hand or not, Steve, is not one that can be answered here. I mean, you watched my analysis of my play when I was doing the single table tournament, and one of the things that I was talking about far more, and if you watch this back and the next time I do it, you'll see this. The thing that I was talking about far more how I played my hand was the little things that I did in addition to that to try and get people to do what I want them to do. And when I show my cards, it's a classic example of that, because that is really what No Limit Poker is all about. That's what it's really all about, is getting people to do what you want them to do. If they've got a better hand than you, if they've got a monster and you bet into them, they're going to call you or they're going to raise you. You know, those things are obvious. The key thing is the borderlines, is what do you write in the chat box, is when do you show your cards in order to get people to do what you want them to do. And in many ways, we don't talk enough about it here on Poker Night Live, but it is absolutely integral to the game. And when I'm on my A game is when I'm absolutely hitting those notes and doing the right things to get people to do what I want them to do. You can call it manipulation, you can call it persuasion, you can call it influence, you can call it whatever you want, but it is absolutely key to playing poker. So there's no way, not a single chance in hell that I can tell you whether you should have shown your cards there or not, because it all depends on your table image. If you're a tight aggressive player, then absolutely you should have shown those jacks, because tight aggression relies on the ability to bet when you don't have anything and make other people fold. If you're a loose player, if you've already got a winning image, you might not want to push that too fast, that everyone just folds all the time. You might feel, as Hoofy I think subs probably feels, is that all of this is very overrated. I don't want to misquote you, Hoofy, don't want to put words in your mouth, but that it doesn't really matter when you show your cards. And some people are of the opinion that you shouldn't show your cards at all. I firmly disagree with that. But that's the thing, Steve, those are the criteria that you need to be thinking about. Anyway, folks, we're coming to the end of part 2. There is so much in part 3, I can't tell you, including Michelle's analysis of her own play. And we will see you with all of that soon on more Poker Night Live.
See you soon.
You kill each other.
Hello, welcome back. Yes, we would kill each other. Yeah, so I've just finished playing that tournament, if you're wondering what we're talking about. Thank you to all of you watching and to all your comments. I can't really type back, but I was trying to read as much as I could. And everyone seems to think that me and you should go out, apparently.
We'd kill each other.
We would kill each other, as you've probably noticed. And they were saying, you know, do you two as nasty to each other in real life as you are on air?
Worse.
Yeah, worse.
843.
Yes, we are moving from 226 to 843 at the end of the month, and there is a competition that's going along with this. To celebrate our move to the gaming and dating section, we're looking for a roving reporter that's going to be sent out to Vegas. Yes, if you would like to be a reporter for Poker Night Live at the World Poker Tour next year, this year even, we are going to be sending somebody out to Las Vegas. Why can't we go?
Do you know what? I fancy a bit of a game and a bit of a date. Where can I go where those two will come together? That's right, the 800's on Sky.
Yes, 843, that's where we'll be. Oh, that rhymes.
I did that.
Did you?
Yeah, that's my copyright. Like, look at that. I don't think any of you pay my dues. It's like Monopoly, you know. When you land on a hotel, you've got to pay up. 843, that's where we'll be. That's mine.
You've finished ranting now. Can I carry on with the show?
Yep.
Good. Oh, I don't know what I've done there. Yes, so Lonely Hearts competition, that's what we're calling it.
Is that why we've done that? Because it's gaming and dating?
Gaming and dating, yes.
Oh.
So because we're classed as gaming, we go in that same section.
Probably
all of
could have been
Sky's
made clearer, I
moving.
reckon.
No, not really.
No,
Gaming
really?
and dating, it's
but
clear.
I mean, it's only just dropped with me and I'm a presenter, so it's an opinion.
So we are looking for the best quirky poker-related Lonely Hearts column adverts.
See, I'm not saying that it wasn't clear in the production meeting.
Yes.
I'm just saying I don't think we've communicated that to the viewers before.
I think the viewers completely understand what's happening.
Cool. Well, I take
Please
it back.
back me up on this. Do you all understand what's happening? We are moving to the gaming and dating section of Sky.
And don't forget
843.
to mark your emails. No, I didn't understand that clearly.
Just to prove a point here, can we be honest about this? And if I can finish, is that all right now? Finished? Right. We're looking for the best quirky poker-related Lonely Hearts column adverts, and this is the example we've got.
Oh, Christ, have we not written another one?
Well, we didn't write another one.
Oh, heavens.
Well-stacked gentleman seeks loose player for some all-night action. So you're getting the vibe of what we want. Now, you need to get these into us. Text them in to 62211. Or you can email them, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, or you can even leave it on our new phone line, which will be coming up shortly. And the wittiest and most original entries will be shortlisted. Now, we're going to be announcing the winner on February the 28th.
They'll be shirt-lifted.
Shortlisted.
Oh, right.
That was quite hard,
Right,
sorry.
that could be seen, right? That wasn't below the camera, that could be seen, and that was a punch. That is actually technically abuse.
You're closer to me than I thought you were. You've moved in closer. And he did pinch me before the show. Right, so yes, do get them into us. It's a fabulous prize.
That's fine.
Somebody will be going to Las Vegas. It's truly amazing. So do make sure you get your columns in. Stop milking it. Right, the what's in the hole. Did we do that yet? No.
So you're in the cheat one.
I was busy
relaxing.
playing. By the way, we will be going to my tournament I just played in very shortly. So don't go anywhere. We will be watching that. I know a lot of you are watching it online as well, so it'll be very interesting to see what everybody had.
Can I just say, in response to a couple of posts on the forum, we don't engineer it so that you have to come back after the break to see the end of the tournament. Can I just make that clear?
Yeah.
A lot of people think that we've timed the show. That
We
haven't. It's just the way that happened. We wouldn't play games on you like that. People go, I want to go to bed, and I'm going to stay up with it. I know that television is
breaks
based
are only
on
7 minutes.
Yeah, but honestly, if we could get on the table sooner, then that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, Olaf, we haven't forgotten you. We know who you are. But yes, we will be going to that in a minute. Before that, we're going to do What's in the Hole.
Ooh, what's in the hole?
Is that the tune that's going to go with it?
From now.
Okay. What's in the hole? Here we go.
That wasn't it.
Well, go on then, do it
What's
again.
in the hole?
What's in the hole?
Good.
A7?
He didn't have a flush, he had
A7?
trips.
Okay, so let's watch this from the beginning. So this has been going on since 12 o'clock yesterday
So he calls,
morning.
and that's mad, but let's let that pass. Play folds, and he calls again. That's less mad, but still not great. He flops his set, jacks bet out. Now this is an open set of 3-7s. And he smooth calls it. There's 2 spades on board there, and someone's betting into you. I think I'm safe to raise there because I know I'm getting a call. But if I do smooth call it, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to bet more than that on the turn. And then the guy checks it, could have a flush draw and be trap checking, and that's when he moves all in. When his hand ceases to be the nuts. Well, not it never was the nuts, but when it becomes even worse. So if you read that, you're a better man than I.
Yeah, quite a difficult one, wasn't it?
It was
this
rock
week?
hard.
So all of you that did text in, you texted the word hole and then the answer, if you got it right, and then your name. At the end of the month, we will be looking at everybody that's texted in and the people that are consistently getting it right, and we'll have a look at those, and there will be a prize for one of them. But very well done if you did manage to get it right. This is about reading your opponent. That was a particularly difficult one. But we are going to watch our next What's in the Hole. Not right now. We're going to quickly have a little update on our multi-table tournament. So let's head there first.
Good.
And then we'll do the new What's in the Hole afterwards, and then we'll go to my tournament. Okay, there's 13 players left, Cass, and 3 tables.
I think
2 tables.
I think I might be bruised.
Do you know, I thought you were further away. It's because, I have tough friends and we're always beating each other up, and I forget that you're just dainty little Caspar. Sorry.
Can you stop referring to my size in a derogatory way?
That's not
you made
referring
one,
to
you
your
made one very
size.
funny joke about it with the shoes thing. That was great. Well
See,
done.
now this is you picking up on this now, because I called you dainty. That's not saying that you're small, that's saying that you're dainty.
What does dainty mean then?
It means delicate.
It's the kind of word you'd apply to a cupcake.
Some cupcakes are very big.
Which cupcakes are big?
Don't give me sacks. I didn't mean to hit you that hard. I'll let you have a free punch.
It's not sacking, is it? It's actually a criminal offence. It's arrestable. You could be arrested. You've actually assaulted your presenter on air.
Oh, and you've never insulted me.
No, assaulted, not insulted. I have insulted you many a time. Fortunately, unless you live in Austria, there are no laws against freedom of speech. Although the government are trying to introduce them, but that is a different story.
Well, it was a friendly tap. And you can have a free punch on me if you like.
I wouldn't dream of... Can I, actually?
You can.
Okay.
I'm pretty tough. Go for it.
I'm going to leave it off air, to be honest with you, because I'd rather there not be any video evidence.
I could win in a fight between the two of us.
The fact that you even wonder is so offensive.
Right. Multi-table tournament. So 2 tables left, 13 people. We will be popping across to the other line in just a minute. Let's have a look who we've still got in, because bear in mind, we started with about 239 people. 36 tables, that's very well done to these guys, and they're all in the money as well. We've got Swizzler at the top, Joker, Idol, Hard, Finisher, Galoxo, and J. 7777. So fairly big chip stacks.
Can I do a big shout out to Ted Moore?
Yep.
Ted Moore has that story in his reporting. It's a good little homage to a great comedy programme from the 90s, and he was joshing around with you on the table. You're probably ignoring him a lot of the time. But
no, I did see something actually. I think he was saying something a bit crude at one point.
With hammers.
I have to actually say that Craven very much loves his wife as well.
Good.
Aww. Yeah, we did have a lot of people. We had about 50 people watching. It's very interesting. And it's a great way for you guys to learn. I mean, like I say, obviously when one of the poker experts plays, it's very insightful because they've been playing a long time, and you hear them telling you how to play a lot, so it's very insightful and interesting to watch them play. As far as myself is concerned, I've been playing 6 to 8 months now, so people that have been playing for a similar amount of time to me, which is a lot of people on Amateur Night.
You've been playing 6 to 8 months?
I can't remember. I first started playing in July, the end of July, beginning of August.
Okay, we can probably pin it down then, can't we, with that information, given that we know today is February the 24th. Don't get the giggles.
When you're making me laugh, you then have to take over. Can I just say that for the future reference?
God, I made myself laugh more.
6 months. Right, I've been playing for 6 months. Excuse me laughing, Caspar. I counted up. And for those people that have been playing 7 months.
So 6 to 8, about right.
See, I was correct first time. Thank you very much. So for those people that have been playing a similar amount of time to me, it's interesting to see if you play similar and if you make some of the same mistakes and do some of the same things. Right, so 7 people left on this table, about 7 people left on the other table. Let me tell you the situation we are at with prize money here. Now, 11 to 20th gets $25. Now, bear in mind it's a $10 buy-in. They're doubling their money, so that's fair enough. Let's head over to our, other table.
Excuse me.
Okay, this is our tournament. This is tournament cats.
Oh.
Here we are. So we won't head over to the other multi-table just yet, but we will go back to that after this game. Now this is the tournament I have just finished playing.
Who are you?
I'm Chip Nurse.
Chip Nurse. Why not Night Nurse?
Well, I'm Night Nurse, but they couldn't get it, so Chip Nurse seemed to be.
Can you not be Night Nurse 99?
Well, that's what I thought, but apparently not. That was the best they could do.
What, there wasn't a single Night Nurse, Night Nurse 101?
I don't know they wanted to do it like that, though. I don't know why. I don't know. Don't ask me.
Seems to have lost something in the translation, doesn't it, Chip Nurse?
Why?
Nurse. I'm not a proper nurse, I'm a chip nurse.
I am a chip nurse. I gather the chips and then I look after them. I was getting a lot of nursey quotes actually when I was playing. But here we go.
Yeah, what? Right.
I've got a 4-5 on the small blind.
Yes.
And QP's gone all in with jacks.
Yes.
So I'm thinking here, I'm not going to play.
Good.
So I didn't.
He's gone all in with jacks.
Yeah.
Don't think he went all in.
Yeah.
Did he?
QP's.
Wow.
Being aggressive with jacks, I suppose that's the way you've got to be.
Yeah, but the pot is 30. No, Michelle, it's not the way you've got to be at all.
No,
Sorry,
actually,
I've got
I
to
have
disagree.
to agree as well. I would never go all in that early with jacks.
It's a terrible move.
Because the only person that's going to call you is probably somebody that's got you beat.
It's terrible. You're risking 1,000 to win 30.
Yeah.
When would you ever risk 1,000 to win 30? You wouldn't go down to the bookies and place $1,000 to win $30, would you?
No.
And you certainly wouldn't do it with a hand that could quite easily get beaten. So this going all in with queens and jacks on ace king because you don't want to play them after the flop has got to stop, guys.
So let's see what Jamaica does with his jacks. 80,
That's right,
four
yeah.
times the big raise.
4 times the big blind. Poker's a game of decisions. You've got to make decisions. Right, so fine, we're going to have to make some decisions with jacks. But moving all in is the worst thing you can possibly do with these hands. I'm not saying once you've got, 5 times the big blind in your stack, 10 times the big blind in your stack, by that time you are moving all in. But at this stage, awful, terrible thing to do.
There you go, QP. You've been told. But I do have to say thanks for QP for getting me into this table, because he was one that got me over.
And that's great, QP. And listen, when I say that, first of all, regular viewers will know that I very rarely come down on one side of the fence or the other. I only do it when I feel very, very strongly about something. And I feel very, very strongly about this. And QP, well, the reason I'm saying it is...
It's to help his play.
Definitely, don't do it. Do not do it. If you might be a winning player because you're doing a lot of things well, if you're doing that, you are losing money doing it. I guarantee you. You might not have lost money so far doing it, but if you haven't, it's because of statistically freakish outcomes when too many people have called you with 10s and 9s. They will not do that often enough over the long term of your poker career to make that a winning move. Trust me. You will win $30 a number of times, and then you will lose $30 often enough when people call you with bigger hands or call you with smaller hands and outdraw you to make it an unprofitable play.
Well, pair of 10s here for Kansas Coyote. Hello everybody, because I know you're all watching, by the way. It was a good game, wasn't it? I won't give anything away. So you don't know where I come. I have to say, it moved very quickly. And I did say this was really fast, and they all took the mick. Saying they should now needed to slow it down because of me. But it does move quickly, and Caspar, you've said before, haven't you, that in these games people should be taking more time to make their decisions.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk about that towards the end, won't they? Because you and me were in a situation with your actual cards where, truth be told, we, and by we I mean you actually on the keys, but me in spirit, made a decision too quickly, didn't we?
Yeah.
Too quickly.
Yeah, I made a very quick decision at one point. and
I have to take some of the blame for that, for sort of motivating you to do it.
Pair of 5s. Some 20. What do I do with my Queen 7? And he was beating me as well, but I didn't want to play with middle pair, so I put it down.
What was the size of the pot at the time?
I can't remember.
Okay. Because if that was a very small bet...
I think it's only the blinds that was in it.
Okay, so a pot of 60 and he bets 20 into it, so nothing wrong with folding it there. If the pot is substantially into that pot, if the bet is substantially into that pot, then I think it's a no-brainer fold. If he's giving you the kind of pot which gives you pot odds... Sorry, if he's giving you the kind of bet which gives you pot odds to call and/or it looks weak enough that you could come over the top of it and stand a good chance of making him fold, then you might want to try that. But you know, twice...
And it was quite early in the tourney as well, and I wasn't into it.
No, Michelle, twice in the early stages of my tournament, I laid down the best hand to people trying it on with me. Mr. Loomas, we'll mention no names, Mr. Loomas, but Sam Loomas did try it on.
So that would be Sam Loomis then, that tried it on with
Sam Loomis, yes, that was Sam A.K. Loomis, yes.
So you know, here I am with the 9-10. I can't tell you what I was thinking right now, but I think I was thinking about... I was thinking about either coming in or raising and stealing. No, he was just coming in.
Good, fine.
And then I've got an up and down, so I think I try bet.
Yeah, with bottom pair. And bet you should.
Good, because he checked me as well.
Yeah, good, excellent.
I can't remember what I put in. I think I just put in 80, which isn't enough. I should... Usually my bet is 4 times, but on this site, for some reason, I panic and only
4
put
times
in
what?
The big blind.
What do you mean? Well, this is not pre-flop now. This is on the flop. So about a pot-sized bet there.
Do you know what? Actually, this is a good point from you, because I don't look at it as in the size of the pot, so I still look at it as in...
Well, absolutely stop
times
that
blind,
now.
so I've got to stop
now.
that.
That's terrible. You've got to look at the size of the pot at every time, at every stage.
I do sometimes, but when I'm doing it quick, sometimes I'll think 2
No,
times big
don't
blind,
care. No,
2 times big blind.
No,
So definitely
no,
something I've
got
got
to
to
stop
change.
that. In relation to the big blind, the only reason why you think about how many times it is in relation to the big blind is because that equates to how big the pot is. Let me show you in just a minute. Hang on a second. So ace king, poor old ace king, poor old QP. You've done nothing wrong there, by the way, QP. Just very unlucky to run into aces. Bad luck. Fast sit and go. Got to play ace king. Okay, so look, here we've got a situation where ace queen with 4 king. He's decided to smooth call there. If he raises to 3 times the big blind, right? His bet there is twice the pot, okay? Because he's trying to make it big enough that the blinds are not in a position to call, okay? Or are incorrect to call with certain hands. If, however, you get 2 callers in addition to the blinds, and you're one off the button or on the button, let's say, with a pair of kings, you're not going to bet 3 times the big blind there, or with a pair of queens, because you're raising to isolate. Right? So your bet has to be bigger, and that's because of the total pot size.
See, I do that when I'm raising. I'll look at the pot and not give them odds.
You've always
It's only after the flops come down and I'm deciding to bet.
No.
I sometimes don't look at the pot and do it in relation to the blinds. That's something I must stop doing.
The first stage you've got to do is to look at the pot.
And how weird is that? If someone bets at me, I will then consciously look at the pot, look at the bet, decide if I can afford to do it, if I'm giving the odds to call it or not giving them odds to raise it, blah, blah, blah. But if I'm just calling out on the after the flop, I don't think about it as pot size. It's not weird.
This is a perfect example of something which I do a lot in my training sessions, or say a lot in my training sessions, which is that I say genius, what we call genius, you could call it presence, you can call it creativity, all these qualities which we think are something that people have, It's not something that people have, it's something that people do. And very creative people like Walt Disney just do a lot of these things regularly over and over again, right? And great players exactly the same. If you break down the thought processes of Stu the Kid Unger or Doyle Brunson or what have you, if you could replicate their thought processes, you could replicate their results, right? So it's just a question of understanding what they think about at any given time and how they think about it. Now, sometimes you might not be able to replicate their thought process, either because they're too minute and detailed and one man could never replicate them in a lifetime, or B, because you don't have the mathematical knowledge, and again, it would take an awful lot of time and study to get to speed with that mathematical knowledge in the case of Stewie, right? But if you could replicate them, there's nothing additional in addition to those thought processes that those guys are doing that you're not, okay? So once you start to think and act like those people, then, believe it or not, your results will start to equate to those people as well. Okay, they're not magic people. They're just doing certain things that work. Okay, so the first thing that you've absolutely got to do is start looking at the pot size first and foremost when it comes to deciding what size of bet it's going to be, and forget about the big blind almost from the very beginning of the hand. Maybe the first opening bet that you make, you can think about in relation to the big blind.
So if the flop's coming out, I want to bet, say I've got top pair or whatever reason I want to bet, I should be betting the pot about.
That's one of those trite pieces of advice, But as a good rule of thumb, it's certainly the starting point. Let's put it that way. It's a starting point. Sometimes you might want to bet twice the pot. Sometimes you want to bet only a fifth to a third of the pot in very specific circumstances. But the pot is a good guideline, because if you bet the pot, you're giving a person 2 to 1.
Which is strange again, because you know when somebody bets at me on the flop, I'll look at it in relation to what the pot is.
No,
so how odd is that?
I understand.
Okay, so some pre-flop folds. Look at me, loosey-goosey on the table, but I've not finally played anything.
Or so you think. No, the big thing there is, look, there's only 6% difference between top and bottom.
Okay. Right, 9-10. I think I limp here.
Chip nurse.
The chip nurse. Yeah, I limp. 9-10, limping. Should I be raising?
I mean, we're at second level, 20-40. You know, you've got 25 times that big blind in your stack, so I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. It's the last level I would do that personally at. You want to try and get in cheaply to see the flop. So, again, it's the old thing, Michelle, it's not there's a good or a bad thing to do. It's as long as you understand the consequence of that on the flop.
Yeah.
If you just hit a pair of 9s with, you know, a poor kicker as your 10, and with a player to act behind you, you might want to bet, but if you get raised, you'd let go of it, right?
I mean, unlike some people, I look at hands like, I generally don't play the low connectors, and hands like things like 4-5, 5-6, I will never play unless I'm on the blinds already, on the big blind already, or maybe, you know, in late position if I haven't played for a while. But things like 9-10 and 10-jack, I do really struggle. A lot of the time I'm just limping in with them. You know, heads up is different. But some, yeah, the connecting ones are, you know, I'm always having a think about what should I be doing with this. Jack King, Stunters. I have to say, a good bunch though that play.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
They're absolutely brilliant. It's the nicest community in poker. There's no doubt about that.
And just to answer some of your questions, no, I don't. We don't announce we're about to play and then try and get on a table. We just try and get on a table without anybody knowing. But unfortunately, everybody knows it's around 11 o'clock that we do that. But it worked in the end. Obviously, we're just it's a new feature for us, so we're just giving it a go and ironing out all the creases. If one folds to me, I think I get a bit of a free ride.
I hate ironing.
Do you not do much ironing?
I get my cleaner to do it.
You've got a cleaner? Such a snob, aren't you?
How's that snobby?
Do it yourself.
How's that snobby?
Right, it's not snobby. I would have a cleaner if my bank account would allow for it.
And if your mum didn't do it all?
My mum doesn't do it, honestly, my mum's useless
You
like
live
that.
with your
Bless her
parents
heart, I
and you're
love
shouting at
her.
me for having a cleaner.
My mum doesn't do any of the because I have such a big family. I generally, because my sisters steal all my clothes, I generally just kind of do my own stuff. Iron as needed.
That's right, you keep everything in a big pile, don't you, and just pick it out.
No, I don't.
Well, I like to live with some kind of order, Michelle. Shoot me.
Let's see what I do
to
with the
4080,
fours.
so now they're too big to just start limping.
So let's see if I limp or not.
Let's see if you limp or not. Absolutely.
I think everyone folded to me, so I tried to steal.
Getting on for a tenth of a stack now, and this is where Hoofy and I disagree, you see, because Hoofy plays very tight during those first 2 or 3 levels. And my point is, if you do that, you're now getting to a stage where quite soon you're just moving all in.
That's not really big enough for a steal, is it, double?
No.
Usually I'd do 3 times.
The effect of that double is to make it look like you want to call, which ironically makes it more likely that someone will fold to you.
Yeah, see, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I understand. But anyway, it worked.
It works, nobody had anything.
Gilberto bets out. Now you've got a... sorry, well, it wasn't you. You're not Fallen Angel.
No, I'm Chip Nurse.
Not in my book.
Don't you think I'm like, a bit like a fallen angel?
No, a bit like an angel. Still well up there. Long way to fall yet.
For 8, I'm thinking that I'm going to put it down.
I'm sure that's crystal clear, that thought in your mind. It's all coming flooding back. I'm going to put this down, she thinks.
Gilberto, probably get rid of the Queen 2. Fallen Angel with Jack 8, I think, can't really go for a steal. He does. I mean, it's fair enough. It's not the worst hand in the world. For me, I might put it down.
For me, the cards are irrelevant. I'd do that with 2-3 there. Yeah.
And then if you get called, it's easy enough to
Yeah.
put it down.
It's about the person and it's about the feel. And by feel, I mean the rhythm. I mean, how often have you stolen? What cards have you shown? What do you feel people think about you at that particular time?
Yeah.
A lot of which is really intangible. I mean, you know, I've had so many discussions with people on air, haven't we, about to what extent people are doing maths. You're doing maths, but subconsciously, and by subconsciously I mean you're not applying figures consciously, but you're doing calculations at a gut level about the likelihood of people folding to you. It's like your body apportions, well, I don't want to get too deep into this, but your body apportions sort of like colours, shapes, sounds, feelings, depending on whether you're an auditory, a kinesthetic, or a visual person, to different mathematical concepts and figures. We do it all the time. You know, for example, if you were going to cross a road to go and buy a packet of sweets, yeah, you'd cross a little country lane or a moderate high street, but you wouldn't cross a motorway, would you?
No.
All right. Now, if someone was chasing you with a gun and they were going to kill you, you'd probably take your chances and cross the motorway, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's happened there is your appreciation of the risk and the reward in that situation has been changed. But you couldn't quantify it, could you? You couldn't say, well, I'm only 70% likely to get across the motorway intact.
See, I love the way you find these little ways of putting points across, because it really does make it clearer when you think of it like that. It is impressive.
But the point is, it's in your gut or in your subconscious, depending on where you want to cite it in your body or locate it in your body, has made a kind of calculation. Yeah. and that's what you're doing at a poker table. Now, that's not to say that if you don't know some hard and fast maths behind it, that you can't improve the accuracy and ability that of your calculations. All right, and that's why you should know things like pot odds, things like true odds, probability outcomes, concept of implied odds, being able to put players into certain categories. All those things improve the gut level outcomes of your subconscious mathematical calculations.
I've got a question actually.
Okay.
Not about that, but
Can we see how you play King 10 before you ask anything?
I know what I did here.
Okay, we don't.
And do you know what? I thought about this because I really didn't know whether to go for the steal or not, and I decided.
Well, you've done a lot of stealing on the button now, haven't you?
That's why I folded.
That's right, and that's fair enough. I think that's absolutely fair enough.
And then after I folded, I thought King 10 is the hand that maybe you should steal with, Dave. But I thought I just didn't think I'd get away with it.
It's not about the hand. It's honestly
as
about
you say, it's
if
not.
someone raises, it doesn't matter whether you've got King 10, Jack 10, or Ace Jack. If someone raises when I've got Ace Jack on the button, I'm probably going to fold it anyway. So it's not about the cards, it's about that situation and their perception of you. And if you've stolen 3 times from that situation and you've got any kind of feeling that this guy's going to come over the top of you,
then fold it.
Then fold it.
And that's what I thought. But no, what I was going to ask is when you're stealing, in a situation like this, the blind's 80, say they're 40-80 and I've got 9-20. Now if I'm stealing for, well, let's stick to it how it was. If I'm stealing for, say, 340 or something, and they go over me, half my stack has gone. Am I then committed to put the rest in, or can I? What move should I be doing there? If I get called,
you've got to let go.
You've still got to let go, even though it leaves you in dire straits. But thinking along them lines, should you even be trying to steal if you can't really afford it?
Well, you should only be stealing when you feel you've got a very positive outcome, and as you said, you didn't feel you had a positive outcome there. That's my motorway example. It's exactly that. You've made a judgment that it is likely enough that you will lose 300 chips, that it's not going to be a profitable steal.
Wait for the cards.
But I absolutely, sorry, I'm going to stress this again, poor old PUFC boys raising into aces there, I absolutely stress this. The decision that you're making is based on underlying sound mathematical principles, whether you like it or not. And I say poor old PUFC, look at that, poor old 4-king.
Yes, I remember that one.
He's got out to ace-king, that's a horrible little outdraw there, bad luck 4-king-ace.
I did see that.
As we say, if you've had a bad beat today, you'll feel a little bit better by seeing that happen to 4-king-ace, not because you mean any malice or spite to 4-king-ace, but because we all understand that these things happen in poker.
Well, goodbye, FK. That was unfortunate. Ten Jack on the big blind. Someone's raised into me. I've got 10 Jack.
You got nailed.
I'm thinking I cannot call with this.
No.
If I was ever going to come in with any hand, I would have gone all in.
Yeah.
And I certainly didn't want to risk my whole tournament on 10 Jack.
And you know you can't force him to put it down. He's put half his stack in. He's going to call you with whatever.
Exactly. So I knew I was up against whatever with 10 Jack, which most of the time isn't going to hit anything.
Good. Well done.
Should we see what I do with these? Oh no.
No! Whoa!
My aces. Do you know what? What happens here? I was so pleased with. It's the best outcome for me here because Gilberto puts in a raise. He's just about to do it. You'll see, which is the best thing to happen when I'm sitting there with aces. And do you know what? I actually pressed the wrong button. I meant to go all in. I just re-raised it to 5 something and left myself with about 100. But I meant to go all in here, but I pressed the wrong button. I thought I'd slided it up and I hadn't. So I left myself with 160.
Good. A little bit in reserve.
But I think I stuck that in.
There's an interesting effect of that, though, to be honest with you, which is that I think that makes it less likely that someone will call you. Because I think it makes it look more likely that you've got aces when you do that. And I know it's a little thing, but you want to get called, and I think pushing it all in there is important for that reason, if no other.
Definitely. I don't know how I managed to press the wrong button. But Gilberto actually typed in the thing to me. He says, you know, he had to, after he'd made the raise, it was only another 200 to call.
Yeah. So
that's why he called. And
no shame to Gilberto at all. But that's left you, look.
Yeah. I'm a bit happier
now.
Second
in chips, a bit happier, weren't you? Much more buoyant. Giving shout-outs to people.
Okay, we'll leave it just here, just for now, very quickly. We're going to freeze it, and we're going to come straight back to it. But we've just got a couple of things we need to do, so we'll leave that there for now. But we'll freeze it. We're going to literally just a couple of minutes, people, because we really need to have a look at the new What's in the Hole.
What's in the hole? Sorry.
Which, that's perfectly okay. So let's do that now. It's the new What's in the Hole, and then we're going to be heading straight back to the tournament, don't worry. So let's just have a quick look at What's in the Hole. Here we go, this is the new one. Now we'll be revealing the answer to this tomorrow at 12. Now do remember, if you would like to have a guess at what Zori has in his hand, you need to text the word hole, and then your answer, and then your name to 62211.
What's in the hole?
Okay, so multi-table tournament, blinds are 150, 300. Potzer is drawing to the nuts flush. Puts in a bet, gets called by Zori. Another 300. Turn comes out. Still drawing to the nuts. Zori calls. Doesn't get his flush, but hits the ace for Potzer. Is he going to put in another bet here? Zori's just been flat calling. 1,200 comes out. Zori's all in. Potzer really can't call this, I don't think. We haven't seen his shirt, so we don't know. No, folds. So what could Zori have? Text the word hole and then your answer to 62211, and that's what's in the hole.
Good, that was very good.
Thank you. Right, so there you go. Do remember to get your little newspaper magazine column quotes for our Lonely Hearts competition to win that trip to Vegas to be a roving reporter for PNL, Poker Night Live. Make sure they go to www.pokernightlive.co.uk.
I'm going to enter. I'm just going to enter.
62211.
You know,
I might enter as well, you never know. We could think up fake names.
we could think up fake names. I think they'll guess when they see us standing outside the Mirage on camera.
It could be Ken Adams. You look like a Ken Adams. Right, I think we should get straight back to my tournament.
That's really offensive.
It's not offensive. Ken Adams, that's a good name. Have you seen Friends? It's Joey's name that he picks.
When?
In Friends. You've watched it. And Phoebe's is Phalange or something. Can't remember now.
Regina Phalange.
That's it, Regina Phalange. And he's Ken Adams. Hello, nice to meet you. Very funny. I can't tell you what mine is because I use it secretly for people that don't know me. It's Penelope Bird. What's yours? Do you have one?
What's that? My porn star name?
Yeah. No, just name that you people if you don't want them to
Lolly
know.
Chase is my porn star name.
Lolly Chase.
Yeah.
Mine is Indiana Alderton. Right, blinds have gone up to 163.20. I've got pocket eights. So I've got to make a move of this, really. It's not the ideal pocket pair for me. I like them a bit higher, but I figured that bet, okay, 640. I made it. No, probably not enough, which is why I got a call. But Gilberto was all in because he didn't have much left.
You're
so fair enough.
You're betting twice the big blind pre-flop, I think, too regularly.
Do you know, yeah, and this is, I had this conversation with Nick when I did it on Monday, and do you know what? When I'm at home, my standard raise pre-flop is 3 times the big blind or 4 times the big blind, depending on how I feel that day. Yet, in that game on Monday and the game today, even after I've spoken to Nick about it, I still did it.
And I'm not saying
really odd.
Yeah, okay, and I'm not saying never do it, so it's not that it's wrong, you know, per se.
Was at my one, again, I was up again. The only person that called was Gilberto, and it didn't work out for him. So I'm still second. 3, 4, 5, 6, look, Fallen Angel, up and down. Kansas, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, up and down for him as well. But the Jack takes it. So another one bites the dust, and there's 4 of us left.
Ooh,
bubble situation.
Bubbly wobbly.
What happens to me? And also, I'm third now. No, I'm not. I'm second, but it's very close between me and Fallen Angel.
Sevens, what do you do here?
Push it. See, and I realised what I've been doing before, and I made it bigger this time, 960. comes over the top of me, and don't really have any choice now because I've only got 780 left. So I've got to push in. Heads up, pocket pair. I didn't know what he had, obviously. If it had a high pocket pair, it could have probably been all over. So all I can do is sit and hope that he doesn't get a queen or a king. Yay! I don't even remember hitting the 7 on the end.
Everything was a blur.
I just thought he just missed everything. So this puts me into the chip leader now. I've got A7 suited.
You certainly have, there's no denying it.
And I decided to fold it.
Yeah, interesting. I would have moved with that, and I would have run into jacks.
Yeah, I think there's occasions where I definitely would.
Well, and the only thing I'd say is, and I'd have hit an ace. The one thing I did learn from playing this tournament on Monday is that it's so fast that other players will take each other out with such frequency that
it didn't matter that I didn't play the A7.
you can just sit there so long and not...
And I've got a couple of blinds to go through me before I'm desperate to play.
This is one of the faults with this site, actually, is that bet, it should cost you in PFC 320 to see the flop. Doesn't matter that the big blind has only put 130 in.
Okay.
It should cost you the size of the big blind to see the flop.
Well, 3 of us left. I am in the money. Now, but where do I come? Because I came 3rd on Monday.
Fallen angel. Makes his flush.
Makes the flush.
Could the comeback be on?
It could happen.
Will Michelle bet a 3rd?
Well, I'm on the big blind with Jack 4. Ace Jack's in. PFC boy comes in. I check. I'm on the big blind. Got nothing. So if anyone bets here, I'm gone. Don't even fancy trying to make a play for it because I really don't have anything. Posh boy gets his flush. And I tried to steal it by representing that I've got a flush. And oh look, it didn't work because Posh boy's sitting there with a flush.
But you get away from it, which is great.
Yeah, I don't put in the...
so now you're 2nd, and PFC boy has...
See, and that did cost me
lead,
there. And but at this stage, I suppose you've got to try. You know, everyone had checked. The flush was out there. I thought if someone had a flush, they'd probably got all in.
The only mistake was the dry pot. I mean, if that had happened and it wasn't a dry pot, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, to be honest with you. If he's checked, you know, he's in one of 2 situations. He's either slow playing the flush, or he's checking 2 because he's got nothing. And actually, the chances are that he doesn't have a flush in that situation. He might even have had top pair, but now he can't call it because the flush has suddenly appeared on board.
So if he didn't have the flush, I would have probably taken that down.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I say, he came over the top of me. I had to fold 'cause I had nothing. It was a very easy decision to then fold.
Yeah.
He's all in. I can't do it with an 8-3, so I'm desperately hoping that I get something better this go. 5-8. It's not enough, but I don't have any choice here. I've got hardly any chips. I have to push him now.
Yeah.
No
And he folds
choice.
to you.
He folds to me, which is I found really odd. Ace-8, I can now push all in. He decides to fold again, so I'm thinking, well, I might be able to do something here. And because he's such a big leader over me, for me it's, you know, you just got to push.
Now you've got the better hand here, and you hit your 4, but unfortunately he hits his 8, so he's outdrawn you.
He's outdrawn me at the moment.
You know,
I need a
you've got
queen
the
or a
better
4. Does it come? No, but I did come 2nd.
Yes. And you've got the highest cash win.
I have got $72.
Fantastic.
So I came 3rd on Monday, I came 2nd today.
The
so
makers
I've
of
got to come
P&L
first next time.
will be over the moon with you.
Do you think?
Yeah. Now where are you on here?
Pre-flop action, this is going to be interesting. 8% raised, 4% call.
So you're only playing 12% of hands, which is good, disciplined. No one's playing very many.
Well, I did find this on Monday as well. Because everyone was so quick, I found that a lot of people kept going out and getting involved, so I didn't really need to risk anything so much. You get a feel for a table. And
Who won that?
Posh Boy, I think.
Posh Boy. POC. Why do you call him Posh Boy?
Because he said, do a shout out for Posh Boy.
Oh, okay.
I think it was Posh Boy that won. I'm
POC.
mind blank there.
Yeah. Good, excellent, well done.
I mean, thank you. So
Well
what
done
do you
Well
think
done you.
overall?
Well done you. Good. I said I would.
Those few points that I definitely need to work on.
When you're grazing, grazing. You don't graze, you're not a cow, are you?
Are you calling me names again, Caspar?
When you're raising, I would go a little bit higher than 2 times the big blind more often.
Yeah.
And a couple of moves that you made were fine, in my opinion. So good stuff.
Yay.
Yeah, it was good.
Well, it worked because I come second.
Yeah, you're playing results, which is exactly the opposite of what I was trying to tell people earlier on. But it's fine, you walk all over the point if you want to.
It's trying to make the right decision and do the right thing.
Yes.
And you don't always. And a lot of times you do something and you know damn well it's not the right thing to do. And you do it and you think, why did I do that? Because I know I shouldn't have done that. And when you're under the pressure and the timer's going down, sometimes you do make these on-the-spot decisions. I suppose that does come more with experience, and you've played it a lot more, you can be a lot calmer about things. And pressure being on the telly.
You're on the telly every night.
It's not every night.
In fact, you're not even on the telly when you're playing your poker.
But if you have any comments about the game, what you thought of my play, and if it helps you at all with the new format, do let us know. Do remember those numbers of text is 62211. There it is. Do remember you can also email, which is poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, and you can have your say. And there's the number, 0906 200 70 80. You can leave your messages and questions vocally, and we'll play them out live on air, and you can hear yourself. It's very exciting. I think we may even have one. I think now have we got one? Excellent. So let's listen to this. Roll it on.
He's very quiet, isn't he?
It's coming.
Perhaps he's from the home counties.
We can't hear it. We might have to come back to this because we're having a little problem with the sound of the voice message, but we do have one. We'll try and sort that out and we'll listen to it. Oh no, it's coming. I'm being told. This is going to be one of them times where it's coming and then it's not and then it is. No, okay, we're not going to get it right now. We do have a slight problem with the sound, but we will come back to that voice message. Then again, do bear with us because all of these new features are starting this week, so we are getting used to them. And as we said earlier, ironing out the creases. So we'll bring that voice message to you later, but for now we're going to head over to a cash game. And I can calm down after my tournament experience. Right, we've got SG1, SG1, Ben Browder at the top there. We've got Given, Johan Harren, Name Exists, Cincinnati Kid, All In Jumper, Zandy W, and Jack Alley at the top left there.
Jack Alley.
It was a cash game, 50 cent, $1. Have we seen a cash tonight? Did you watch a cash earlier while I was playing? You watched 25, 50 cent, did you? So this is slightly bigger stakes here. You can see the amount. Remember, those are real dollars you can see in front of all our players. So SG1 there with $116. Do remember, if you're wanting to play a cash game online, all you have to do is find one you fancy playing on. It will tell you how many people are sat at that particular table. Just scroll down. If there's 7 out of 8 people on that table, it means there's a seat. You can click on go to that table, it will take you to the table, and then if there's a spare seat, all you have to do is double click on it and it'll ask you how much you'd like to sit down with. And generally it will just come up with the maximum. So if you don't want to sit down with the maximum, you can type in something different, or you can just click OK and then you'll be seated. Now do remember, once you're seated, you can come out any time you want. You can play one hand and then leave if you please. It's entirely up to you. What you can't do is come in and out and try and miss the blinds. That doesn't work, because if you do miss the blinds, you're then forced to put it in again, even if you're not in the blind position. Generally, it's the minimum amount you can sit down with is 10 times the big blind on that table. And the maximum you can sit down with is 100 times the big blind. So $10 being the minimum to sit down with at this table, and $100 the maximum. So Johan and Harry are doing very well there, and as is Zandy and Cincinnati Kid storming ahead. SG1's up, All In Jumpers up. Again, we don't know what these people sat down with, so... Could be anything. Pair of threes there for Zandy. takes it down. Obviously, with the cash game, the blinds stay the same, so you can think about your odds a little bit more and start concentrating, I think, on some of the fundamental things you need to be doing in poker. Whereas with the tournament, you should be thinking about them things also. But some people do have tournament plans and strategies which they like to stick to. Mm-hmm. Whereas a cash game, is it quite important in a cash game to think about all these little things that improve your play, like odds and what you should be playing, what you shouldn't be playing. Should you be a bit tighter?
It's vital.
Vital. Thanks, Caspar, for that insightful comment.
Can't put it too strongly. Vital.
What do you prefer playing in cash games or tournaments?
Do you know I've gone right off cash games?
Yeah, you said actually.
I wouldn't be disappointed if I never played another cash game in my life.
Why is this?
Because I'm curmudgeonly.
You do go through stages though. I went through a huge stage of just playing tournaments and never playing cash games. And now I'm playing a lot more tournaments again. And not as many cash games. You do tend to swap between the two.
Like fashion.
Yes.
Yeah, just got no time for them. Just don't want anything to do with them. It could be a personal opinion. Are you going to read an email?
I am going to read one. This one's from Making Jam.
Oh no, can I recommend the one from the apology? There's a really lovely email apologising for taking your seat from Phantom.
Oh, okay. Phantom, hello. I haven't read this one yet.
I owe him an apology for calling him a moron.
Oh.
I feel very small.
What, is it Olaf?
I think it is Olaf, yeah.
No, because it's Phantom.
Yeah, but...
Because like someone took my seat a few times.
Yeah,
okay, anyway, Phantom, hello. He says, Michelle, I am so sorry for blocking your seat earlier tonight. As well as an apology, I owe you a brief explanation. I have been a fan of the show for a year, a recent member of the forum, and tonight was the night. Sorry, I've been watching the show for the year, and I'm a recent member of the forum. And tonight was the night I decided to have a go on a TV table. My wife was in the living room, so Shock Horror Channel 226 was
soon
not
to be 843.
Soon to be 843. Between 11 and 11:30, but I knew would have the Sky remote to myself a bit later on. It had taken me so long to set up my account, etc. I did not get it activated until about 11:20, by which time I assumed you would be well into a tourney. I saw a $10 tourney open up, and so I opened it up to see it was full. Oh dear. But wait! That instant, a seat came free and I took it. Oh, I feel so bad now for having a go. He says, cue abuse. Not a very nice welcome to a newbie, I thought. It was not until after the tourney started that I realised the seat had been given up for you. I then switched channels to be called a moron by Caspar. The abuse from the TV regulars continued. Embarrassed, I thought I would do the decent thing and not play, sacrificing my $10. Even that went wrong as I cashed in third. So I am truly sorry, Michelle. If and when I have another stab at the TV table, I'll make sure I am not keeping a presenter of the tables. As for everyone else, don't abuse people when you don't know the facts. I love the show. Joined in the forum clamour for a play, the presenter tourney, and the last thing I would knowingly do would be to spoil that opportunity. Okay, Phantom, I'm going to do something for you now.
Don't hit me.
I'm not going to hit him, but have we got your email address? Okay, what we're going to do, Phantom, it was your first time trying to get on the TV tables. It sounds like you had a nightmare night, that you lost your money, and that's really not what we wanted.
He didn't lose his money, he cashed third. He cashed third.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay, what we'll do is I've got your email. I'll tell you what we'll do for you. Next time I'm on and I play, I'll let you know what table I'm going to go and sit on, and you can come and sit on it with me. How about that?
That's not going to work, because it fills up in 20 seconds.
Yeah, we won't tell anyone, and we'll start earlier or something.
Okay.
Yeah? Yeah, Phantom, and we'll do that, and then you can play with me on the TV table, and then you will be on the TV.
And can I apologise? I'm very, very sorry.
And for all the guys that abused him on the forum, naughty, naughty. But then it's not their fault, you know, they'd saved the seat either, and they didn't know the facts, so they didn't know either. It's all friends here on Poker Night Live. We all love each other. And yes, Phantom, we'll try and sort that out so we can play on the same table. Hoofy didn't get to play again today, but soon you'll be mine again. We're going to a break now, so don't go anywhere, and Caspar and I will return after the break with plenty more poker, fun and action. So we'll see you then. Good morning, welcome back to Poker Night Live.
You're bright and
2 to
breezy.
6. I am bright and breezy. It's
Stop
because I'm
saying
happy.
226.
That's what I'm saying. If you interrupt me, I was going to say 226, about to move to 843.
843.
843.
843.
843.
If you keep saying it, I'll keep saying it.
I'm testing you.
Good, 843.
I didn't say it.
No, you did, and I didn't repeat
That's where we're going to. Sky is all changing around, and all of the gaming and dating will be in the same section.
Gaming
so we're
and
going to
dating.
be 843.
Those two bedfellows. I fancy a game of poker and a blind date tonight.
Why not? I think it's lovely. You can
Because
play
it's
poker
mental.
with new people that.
Is that what it is? Is it peer-to-peer networks?
It's
That's
not.
the
It's
underlying
just
theme.
no. It's just the way of putting things in blocks for the new channel. Do you have Sky?
I know.
Do you understand?
Don't worry, yeah,
okay, good.
Appreciate it.
We really enjoyed playing. Well, I really enjoyed playing in the tournament earlier. It came second, so I'm really happy about that. Hope you enjoyed it too. The what's in the hole. Shall we do that now? Can we do what's in the hole?
What's in the hole?
What's in the hole?
I hope that catches on.
I don't think it's. I can't. I was about to say I can't imagine Dr. Tom here doing it, but I did get him to sing Happy Birthday one night. So.
Oh.
There
Zori.
you go.
What has Zori got? Tell me now. Go on, quick. Go on. Guess now. No?
No, I can't guess. We're not
No.
allowed because we have to let the viewers do it.
Also, you have no information.
We have no information.
Just checks. Ooh, checks again with the 3 spades. Pozza with his ace of spades, bets out, and Zori just calls. Jack comes down, and Pozza bets out, piddling amount, and Zori just calls. Look at that. Pozza makes a pair of aces and tens, and he bets out a serious amount, and Zori goes all in. All in. What does he have?
It's like a little story.
Me, 4-2. 4-2, he's bluffing. And Pozza thinks about it, and thinks about it, and thinks about it, and folds. Very little information.
Oh yes, text hole and your answer to 62211. So I was just reading an email from Posh Boy, who I think is Colin Woods, because I've got two. The first one says, first of all, hello Colin Woods, I think you're Posh Boy. He says, hi Michelle, really enjoyed the game, very well played. Was a bit lucky at the end, and when my ace-king suited beat the aces, but look forward to seeing the game on TV. The way you played those aces had us all fooled and was superb. Love the show, thanks.
Good, excellent, fantastic.
Thank you. Well, we have showed it now, so I hope you enjoyed that. And I'm assuming you are Posh Boy, because I'm pretty sure it said Colin Woods at the bottom of it. It said, just to add why I checked the flush when 3-handed. Guy was all in, and I wanted him out. Your bluff could have kept him in and cost you second place if he then went on to win. I therefore checked you, waiting to see what happened on the river. As you bet and I had the nuts, I had to go all in. That's my view. Let me know what you think.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't. I certainly didn't find any problem with what he did I?
No, I don't think you did, no.
It was
So
all
very
good
well
stuff.
done.
Yeah, definitely.
Colin Woods, a.k.a. Posh Boy, apparently. Have a couple more emails as well. Making Jam, we were back to this earlier, so I'll do that now. He says, hello again all. You at Poker Night Live completely changed my mindset last summer. You were having a discussion about runs and luck, and Nick mentioned that even if you give up poker for 20 years after a bad run, the next hand you play is still your next hand. Whether you wait 20 seconds or 20 years, the time elapsed between the two events has no outcome on the result. Why this may be obvious, thinking about this has led me to change the way I play. I now play each hand as a unique event and have taught myself not to get emotional and to accept that outdraws will happen. So that's my mindset. So what's my mind play? Play the shortest run possible. The long run is only a way of keeping score.
Very interesting way of putting it. I agree completely with what Nick says, although we do need to understand that sometimes taking a break from playing is useful to give our minds a breather. It has no impact on the cards, like I say. It's not like you're going to go away and your bad run's going to happen without you and then you'll come back and it'll all be bright and breezy again, but it can be good just to give your mind a rest. But we've talked about one other way of helping that perspective here tonight, which is, watching Poker Night Live and just understanding that everyone gets good and bad luck, and seeing some people being outdrawn can ameliorate your sense of injustice and dissatisfaction with the world and the way the gods are treating you, or the fates, or the fortunes, whatever you choose to call them, and understand that in actual fact it happens to everyone, and it's no slight on you in the great scheme of the universe. So that's one very effective way of helping some people come to terms with their bad luck.
Okay, thanks. So I am going to do this here from Rakebackrat from Norway. Now, I haven't read through this email, and so bear with me while I read through it, because he's from Norway, but your English is fantastic, I have to say.
It's absolutely astonishing, yeah.
He says, I just wanted to say I'm not a loose player. I have a loose play, and all my moves are based on what I think my opponent has.
Can I just interrupt there? If you have a loose play, you are a loose player. Loose player is not a term of offence. It's not, oh, he's a loosey-goosey. You were playing 47% of hands, I think, at the time. I know it's based on a small sample. You might have an average of 30, 35, might be 20, might be 62. But at an average of 47, and you say, I have a loose play, that makes you a loose player. Don't deny that and don't get upset about it. It's just a categorisation. It doesn't mean you're a losing player. That's very different.
Okay, excellent. He says, my style is like Gus Hansen. There's a key to all the madness. You've seen I have $140 at the table now. I've got 2 all-ins in 2 pots when I had the nuts, and the other ones had trips or 2 pairs. By being loose can be dangerous, but when I hit my hand, I'm being paid off to the limit, since the players don't respect my bets.
Can I just make another point there as well?
Yeah.
And that is, I've said that so many times, and again, I wasn't saying that Rakeback was a bad player, I was saying he was a loose player, and that's exactly what you get as a loose player, and that's fantastic. And if it's working for you, that's brilliant, because I'm on a mission to demonstrate that there are lots of different ways of playing poker that are profitable. As long as they are, let's hear it, internally consistent.
Okay, he says the 2 examples. I raised $2 from one first position, holding 6 and 4 of spades. I get 4 callers, and the flop comes Jack 6-4 with 2 clubs. I'm first to bet, so I bet out $7. Then I get a re-raise for $40 from this guy. I put him on Ace Jack, King Jack, or a flush draw. He shows top pair and flush draw, but he didn't hit, and I win the pot, almost $100. Second time, I have Queen Jack. I raise to $2 in first position. I get 1 caller in late position. Flop comes King 10-5. I check and he checks. It comes 4 on the turn. I check against to call a bet from him. Then he bets $3 into a $4 pot, making me over 2-1 of hitting the nuts with my 8 outs. The turn was a 9, making me the nuts. The guy now bets out $5. I wait a little bit before pushing to 15. Then he moves all in for 30. I'm of course calling, and the guy shows 3 10s. That is so horrible play by my opponent, and I hope you can discuss this subject on Poker Night Live. You should never slow play a hand unless you have the absolute nuts. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't agree with that conclusion that you should never slow play a hand unless you have the absolute nuts. That's not the conclusion to the story that you've made, the story that you've told. The story that you've told illustrates the fact that you should be making bets that your opponents are incorrect to call, and by making a bet that was correct to call, he's given you a situation in which you can make the right play, and if someone's making the right play, then you're not making equity from it, and therefore you're not making money in poker in the long run. That's not the same as saying you should never slow play a hand unless you have the absolute nuts. If you're a very, very tight player and you flop 3 of a kind, and you know that when you bet people tend to fold, then that's a very good opportunity if the flop isn't too suited or doesn't offer the opportunity of a made straight to slow play it. But it needn't be the nuts at that time. Could be a 3rd set, and that would still be completely acceptable. That's one example of lots of different occasions when it would be correct to slow play what wouldn't be the absolute nuts. Broadly speaking, though, great email. Really love your style of play, and if it works for you and you enjoy it and you make money, what more can be said?
And I have to say a big shout out to all of our Scandinavian viewers and new viewers we've got from Germany and the Baltic states. A big hello to all of you. We're so pleased to have you with us. And your emails are great as well, so do keep them coming in. We love to hear from you. And before we go to our game, quick email from Smober. Good morning to you, Smober. He says, hey guys, quick question. 2 pairs. What do you do when you have 2 pair and you know you have the best hand, but there are draws there? Been done so many times. He says, Caspar, your input in the show is excellent, if not up to the standard of Michelle.
I'm fully well aware of that, and that's why we end up arguing, because I'm jealous.
Ah, liar.
Yeah.
So 2 pairs.
I'll tell you what, let's get to the game.
Shall we?
Because I'm going to read out some stuff from the forums and
Okay.
we're going to commentate on the game and see if 2 pairs crop up there.
Excellent, here we go.
Okay.
So I mean, generally, surely if you've got 2 pair and there's flushes out there, you've just got to bet it up and not give people odds to call for their draw.
Yes.
Okay, this is our multi-table tournament. 7 players left. 7 players left. Will, Jaded, Galozzo, Hard, Idly, Joker and Swizzler at the top. These guys have come a long way. I think it was about 39 tables. Let me just check that for you when we first started. 285 entrants and 36 tables. Now, these are the top 7. 7th takes away $99, then 128. 5th takes 171, 222, 327, 498, and the winner takes 783.
Okay, here's a post from the forums, right? Talking
Okay.
about 2 pairs. AFC Beer writes, I've been interested in Caspar's early tournament limping strategy with speculative hands, hoping to either win a monster pot or create a loose image for later on. I thought I'd try this out in a recent single table tournament. I'm usually a rock in the first few levels, which is what Hoofy is, or argues strongly for something approaching that. And an interesting hand developed. It's about 5 hands into a tourney, and I'm on the small blind with Jack 9 suited. And after 2 limpers, I call. Big blind checks, the flop comes Jack 9 7. So he's flopped top 2 pair. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously I'm delighted, top 2 pair, and now I think I can at least build a chip lead, if not knock someone out. The thing is, I know top 2 is still a vulnerable hand, so I feel I have to make some sort of bet. I bet 60. Blinds are 30, 15, with 1,500 starting chips. And the big blind, who's yet to play a hand, makes it 120. Everyone else folds, and I re-raise it to 300 before he moves all in. So you bet 60, it's raised to 120, you raise it to 300, and the big blind moves all in. All right. Now this is where I feel a bit lost. The whole point of playing Jack 9 is for a situation like this, so I can double up. Therefore, I feel that if I fold, why bother playing Jack 9 in the first place? But his betting seems to indicate I'm beat. I can't put him on ace-ace or king-king, or a bone-dogging ace-king, ace-jack, etc., because he checked the big blind. As he has a random hand that's not good enough to raise pre-flop, I put him on either a made straight, a set of 7s or 9s, 2 pair, or a complete fishy bluff. I won't say what I did or what the result was yet, as I'd like to know what others have done in the same situation. Okay, so great email or great post on the forums, and by the way, the forums are a fantastic learning resource for anyone who wants to take this folder further. And here's what I wrote in response. Now, just absolutely stress this. You know, this is purely personal opinion. I make a couple of different points, and I could have written 4 pages on this, but I just made one very brief one because I was just logging into the forums. My thought is, I say, for me this is very easy. Fold. You do play for these situations, but you don't play to have someone put the 3rd raise in against you, right? He bets, someone raises, you re-raise, that's the 2nd raise, and someone puts a 3rd raise in other words, the 4th bet. Yeah, you okay? You with me? I said I would make your 2nd raise bigger to ask a bigger question, or perhaps make a bigger statement if you like. Someone makes a point about small raises. But once he re-raises that 3rd bet, I say my 2 pair, once he raises, I say my 2 pair is good, but not that good. I say a rude word, so what can't read on the telly, and I throw it away. If I'm playing well, of course, knowledge of the other player might change that, but in absence of that knowledge, that's what I would do. Because what's the biggest tell we have on another player, Michelle? It's their betting pattern.
Yes, their betting patterns.
Yes. And for me, he's saying through the language of chips.
That's the only tell you have on the internet, really.
Pretty much. He's saying through the language of chip movement that he has me beaten. And I don't like that fact, but that's what I do. So in answer to our 2 pair question, basically the answer is that 2 pair is a very vulnerable hand, and when there are draws out there particularly, we don't even have trips. We've got to play it pretty fast. Referring to our Scandinavian friend, he says you should only slow play if you've got the nuts. I disagree with that, but certainly very few situations in which I'll slow play 2 pair that much. Okay, and when I play them fast and I make big bets that ask big questions, I get good information from the other players, and when they come over the top of me, you know, I will make a decision according to that. And the fact is, I can even say that now live on air, in the knowledge that if I'm sitting doing my next Beat the Presenter game, and someone says, "Oh, Caspar's bet out, I've got 2 pair," and they come over the top of me, they don't know what I've got. They don't know that I haven't got trips or the nuts or what have you, and I'm going to call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I may even call them with less than that if I feel that a player's been taking advantage of my style.
Exactly. Like you say earlier, it depends how you've been perceived at the table, what you think your opponents will do to a raise.
It's absolutely everything. It's absolutely everything.
While we're talking about, because obviously there's a lot of discussion that goes with poker, a lot of arguments can be had over what to do in a particular situation. Was it the right thing to do? And people do have different opinions. But I've had an email from Steve about Tawny actually. He says, "Morning both." He just says, "Trying to predict the rash move and thinking you spoke of. I reckon there's the last 3, the small stack is all in, yourself and Posh call, and it looks like you'll check it down. Cass says, put a betting, because Posh will be checking him down, and when you bet, he'll fold and you'll have a big stack. But big raise over the top, and oops, he has a good hand, get rid of it." No, he says.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that.
So I think it was the last one, but 3 of us were in, and when the small stack was all in,
Yeah.
and then I made that bluff with the Jack 4 and he had the flush.
Yeah, and it
I
was
think
wrong
it
'cause
must
you-
be that one.
Yeah, and because it was wrong because you were betting into a dry pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have been doing that.
No.
That
was the
If
mistake
it hadn't
I
been
made.
a dry pot and 2 times, on the flop.
So by
and on the
dry
turn-
pot you mean?
On the by a dry pot, I mean one player's all in. So
You can't bluff them.
No, you can't bluff them. You're betting into that pot has become a side pot, so you're betting into a pot to win nothing because you can't force out a player that's already all in. If it had been 3 players and you'd had a bigger stack, right, and you have 2 players both checked you on the flop and the turn, putting a bet in last position in that situation can be a profit, have a positive expectation.
I mean, I have to say to Steve, I never would have made that bluff if I had stopped a minute to think, oh, small stack's all in.
Yeah.
It didn't even enter my mind. I was thinking about Posh, and I was thinking about bluffing him off, and I didn't even think about the fact the small stack was all in. That was just a mistake on my part.
Yeah. Sorry, Steve. I'm not avoiding your question. It's just that your email's in such note form that it's hard to get a handle on what you're saying. I hope that's answered it. In that exact situation, my feeling is that Michelle was wrong. Tweaking the situation, not by too much, you could create a situation in which I think it's absolutely right.
And to be fair as well,
because it's the last stages in the tournament.
And it also goes to what you say. I made a decision far too quickly. If I'd sat back for a minute and just, I would have then gone, right, well, I can't win, I can't bluff him off, he's all in.
You got 30
so what's
seconds.
the point?
Yeah.
And I'm straight away, I clicked it, didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And this goes back to what you're saying, where you should use that time to sit back and have a look about what's going on. There's no need to rush.
No.
You're given the time for a reason. And people do get annoyed at you when you take that time, but don't worry about it. You know, the time is there for you to be able to work out what you need to be doing.
Well, there's an interesting email actually that someone posted on the forum a little while ago about the subject of, I don't know how to describe this in shorthand, but the subject of slow playing at the end of a tournament to make the money simply by slow playing. And he wrote to the site to find out whether what he was doing was illegal by just literally making sure his time went down all the time, even though he could have made a decision immediately, right? And the site said, you can take as much time as we give you. So, you know, you can always take as much time as they give you, and if it's annoying for the other players around the table, then tough. I don't recommend doing it to cheat or to try and make the money in that situation, but I have to accept if you're going to do that, I can't get at you. You're playing within the rules that the site has set up.
Okay, well, back to our multi-table tournament. Yeah. 5 left. Will, Jaded, Hard, Idly and Swizzler. Out of 239, it's not bad. 285, sorry, it's not bad. The next person to go will be taking away $171, which isn't bad for the $10 you paid to play, but it's been a long night, you've been playing all night. And you do have to remember, there's a lot of money at stake down this table. The winner will be going away with 783, so still a hell of a lot to play for. Small stack here, blinds at 2-4. Hard has got to push it all in here on the button with Queen King. surely?
Sorry, what?
Hard there had Queen King. He's on the button, which doesn't really make a difference when you're going all in.
Hard?
Hard.
Oh.
But, you know, there was a 12,000 raise, but he had Queen King, and the blinds are 2-4. I mean, he's got jacks now, so he can do it now, but I would have thought maybe I'd push in there. But he's got the jack, so it doesn't matter, which is better.
Jack's a go-go. 20,000, 5 times the big blind. Still got to get jiggy with it. The nightmare's not over yet. Now's a good time to get jiggy. Good jigging. Well jigged.
Well jigged hard.
You're quite a good jigger, aren't you? Do you remember the Irish dancing?
Everyone thought I actually could do it, and I was just making it up because I was drunk.
10, 9, 10, unfortunately. Oh, look at that. 9, 10, Jack, Queen. King. You've got to have a king. 4 cards for straight, not enough. Well done, Harj. We were rooting for you.
What up?
Explain your technique, because it's very funny the way you explain it.
What?
How to Irish dance for beginners. What do?
Stick your hands by your sides and jump up and down and flick your legs out.
Bounce up and down.
Bounce up and down, yeah. Bounce your hands by your side and bounce up and down, flicking your legs out.
Brilliant. It looks
drunk.
so genuine.
Everyone came up to me saying, wow, you know, you're a really good Irish dancer. I was like, what?
Oh, poor old Will. Had the best hand, ace-3.
So I have to explain myself
it.
here as well. We were at the Poker Night Live party and he did play the River Dance song.
Yeah, no, you weren't doing it to Kylie in the middle of Turnmills.
And I think Jim joined in, one of our bosses upstairs.
Mm.
Not quite as good. Right, so we've lost our 5th place, 171. So it's down to 4. 4th will be going away with $228. Harj, even though there was a smaller stack there, managed to hang on in. I mean, that on its own is a strategy, surely, at this stage. I mean, even if you've, obviously not for a small stack, you do, because the blinds can eat you up, you do need to work a bit. But if you've got a nice stack in front of you, you can sit back, can't you, and let the others try and fight it out and wait for those big hands. Do you have to still make the moves?
Are they fighting it out? If they're not, then you've got to make the moves. Mm-hmm. If they are, then sit back and let them do it. Yeah, it's the law of the jungle. I'm not quite sure how it's the law of the jungle. That just popped out of my mouth.
It sounded good.
Something to do with leopards and...
If you hadn't mentioned anything, it would have
vines hanging from trees and...
Bit of Tarzan.
Silverback gorilla, of course, the lord of the jungle. If the lion is the king of the jungle.
Cowboys takes it down.
Me, more of a boa constrictor.
What do you think?
Sliding through the grass.
Sneaky.
And then squeezing
Cunning.
my opponent to death.
Well, actually, the other day you were talking about being which poker animal would you be?
We were, very much so.
You'd be a boa constrictor then.
Look at that. 5, 6, 5, 3 5s, beating the pair of cowboys into a cocked hat.
Oh dear, I can see Jaded losing some chips here.
I can see him losing another 52,420.
Yeah. There it goes.
Can he get away from this? Will he put his opponent on a 5? Not on your life.
Nice for idle.
Oh, yeah, but gosh, you know.
I said I'd be a, I can't remember now.
It's a good story.
My mind has gone blank.
Mm. How do you know?
What's the thing that eats its partner after it's mated?
Praying mantis.
That's it. I said I'd be a praying mantis and eat all my opponents. Because they're generally men.
Chip nerds.
Right, should we have a quick look at what's in the hole? Excuse me while I put my tea down. That went smoothly. Here we go. What's in the hole?
So can you, come on, make an effort.
I'm working really hard.
No.
Look, I made money tonight.
The song.
Oh, What's in the hole?
It's not quite in tune. It's what's in the hole?
What's in the hole?
It's good.
Should we do it in harmony?
Later.
So this is where you have to work out what Zori is holding. Now this is to help you guys at home. It's all about reading your opponent, which is a huge part of playing the game of poker. Now if you think you know what Zori has got, you need to text the word hole into us. And then your name to then your answer, then your name to 62211. So Caspar, what do you think Zori could have in his hole? No? Nothing?
Not a clue.
And what do you think of the new feature? Yeah, you like it?
It's all right. I like it a lot.
So there you go, text the word hole and your answer and your name to 62211. There you have it. Right, well, Caspar, where are we going? To a multi-table tournament. Let's head straight back to our multi-table tournament. That's just to get you back, because you've done that to me before.
When? Look at that straight.
Swallow, Caspar. It's all right.
Having flashbacks to earlier in the evening there.
Only 4 left. Do you remember that next person going is $228 to go with, so it's not too bad. Eight tens, 8, 9, 10, jack. Didn't get it straight, but it still took the pot down. Queen 5, king, queen. 12-minute blinds, remember, so 12 minutes and then the blinds go up again. And it all starts getting very exciting at the end of these tournaments. Cowboys again. You sing those a bit today. What's Idol going to do here? It's going to cost him quite a lot more to call, and he does only have a rag ace. But heads up, does he put jaded on an ace? I certainly don't think I'll be jigging here. No. Button moves. Kings again. Look at that, they're out in force, aren't they?
King-tastic.
King-tastic. Not any action though for Idol with the Cowboys. Suited ace. It's enough for a raise from Jaded. Takes it down. Which is good, that's what you want, I think, with a hand like that. Ace-8 suited, you want to be taking the pot, don't you? Before the flop, really. Do you play many multi-table tourneys?
Yeah, I like a good multi-tabler.
I haven't really done many, to be honest.
Oh, you should. They're wonderful. You always think I'm taking the mickey out of you. Has it occurred to you that I might be taking the mickey? Has it occurred to you that not everything's about you?
So even that sentence is mean.
Yeah.
See? Excuse me.
You're right.
Yep.
We love each other really, don't worry.
We do. In a kind of hateful way.
Brother and sister sort of way.
Yeah, that is true, actually. You've got a few years on me, obviously.
You are a bitch.
You can't call me that on live TV.
You hit me on live TV.
Yeah.
Hard.
There's nothing in the contract that says anything about physical abuse.
We don't have a contract.
Do you realise this is repeated in the afternoon?
Ace King in the big blind, poor old Ace Jack. This could be the day he loses his stake. And we've got a pair of sevens as well, interesting. And, ooh, poor play from the sevens there. That's You really don't want to be calling in that situation. From the small blind, oh, that's bad. Bad, bad, bad. Yeah, and a good push there with the ace-king, absolutely the right thing to do in my opinion. And Haj, do the decent thing. That's a good fold by Haj there. Good fold. And if Swizzler calls this after having just called with a pair of sevens, you've got to say to yourself, what on earth are you doing calling with a pair of sevens if you're just going to call a massive raise afterwards? So at least he folds them. Okay, Swizzler's realised the error of his ways.
And at this point, I suppose he can afford to lose 12,000, whereas if he did call, it's pretty much his tournament life on sevens.
Yeah.
Free one? Not free one, sorry. He did raise it up. Worked well. King, Queen for Swizzler. Another raise. So good, lots of pre-flop raising. I do notice it on the last table of the multi-table tournament. Actually, people do a lot of pre-flop raising.
Yeah, and they're right to. Ace 10 in the big blind. Is Idle Eyes going to see dollar signs and start pushing in with gay abandon with his King 7? I do hope not. Good fold.
So as we're starting to lose people as well and the game's becoming more short-handed, do certain hands suddenly start becoming more worthy of play?
Yes.
And this is just because there isn't as many opponents to outdraw you. So you are having to, after playing for so long in a particular way, all of a sudden you're down to the last table, you have to start thinking about changing your strategy for the end run. So even when you're actually playing, and obviously you're working out what you've got to do from what you've been told from the betting patterns, but even when if you're sitting there with two pair, or anything really, and people are calling you or making big bets, you can put them on less things than you may have put them on earlier on in the game, because there isn't as many of them, they might be raising up with a lesser hand. So if you do have a big hand, then you can sit comfortably even if it's not the nuts.
Yes,
a bit more.
Yes, as a statement of probability. I mean, you can't say they don't have aces, but you can say that it's less likely that a raise means, a premium hand. At this stage in the game, it becomes more correct, therefore, to re-raise with good hands.
Some people actually, my dad, for instance, likes to play 5-handed tables, whereas I've always played 10-handed tables. And it does seem a very different game to me. I mean, it comes around a lot quicker when there's only 5 of you, so your money is going up and down a lot more, a lot faster. And because I'm so used to working out what people could or might not have in a 10-hander, going to a 5-hander I think I'd find difficult. Yeah, you would initially, because your reads on players would be completely different. 5-handed poker's like sort of crack cocaine of poker, to be honest with you. Really?
It was the last cash structure that I played seriously with 5-handed poker, and I loved it personally. There are 2 ways to play 5-handed poker. You are either the aggressor at the table, in which case you're bullying everything with nothing, or you're playing a table where there are 2 or more aggressors, in which case you do what I call let the money come to you. In other words, just sit back, call with slightly more frequency than you would normally, and just trap them constantly. Just let them bet into you with good hands, and only put your final raise in on the turn or the river. Never raise on the flop or pre-flop. Just constantly let them bet into you, because they're constantly trying to take it from you, and just call with the best hand. Of course, you won't always have the best hand, but it's a really beautiful, it's a very zen way of playing poker, to be honest with you. It's just letting the money come to you. It means when you're going through a barren patch in terms of cards, you'll go through a barren patch in terms of results, because you're very, very card orientated, which is not the same when you're playing aggressively, where your cards become almost irrelevant. It's a very, it can be a very enjoyable way to play poker. But you have to be able to change gears. Sometimes in the course of the same table. I mean, it's sometimes advantageous to get up simply because it's difficult to create a very different image, even though you're changing your style. Although you can sometimes use that lingering image to your advantage. But I guess one of the things that we're saying here, Michelle, is another allusion to something which we've talked about a lot tonight, which is, and as we take the Poker Night Live oeuvre onto a new level, it's very much about understanding not just what your opponent will do in response to you, but very much how that relates to how your opponent sees you. And it's an absolutely crucial aspect of poker. How your opponent sees you, and what your opponent thinks of you, and what that means for the correct play in that situation.
Okay. There's lots of, you can really get in there and gritty with poker. I mean, there's so much analysis and you can really think about it on a deep level. I mean, obviously for beginners, it's not something you'll be thinking about, but as you progress with your game, thinking about it in this light, is it something that you should be doing, or is it just a different way of looking at the game?
You know, it's an interesting question, that, Michelle. I'm not entirely sure. The question is this. The question is, when you start off doing something, should you think about it at a simple level, right? And then accept that the level on which you think about something is going to fundamentally change? Or should you start off thinking about it at an advanced level, albeit in a simple way?
Okay.
Does that make sense? So when you start playing poker, should you in fact just be concentrating on your cards and forget about anything to do with what your opponent might be thinking of you, etc., etc.? Or should you say from day one, right, it's really important to start thinking about what my opponent's going to think about me. I'm not going to be good at it, but at least I can start to bring it into my my mindset and my calculations, if you like. And to be honest with you, I err on the latter. And that's what I try and do on these amateur nights, is to just sprinkle the essence of what you should be thinking when you're 6 months, 6 years into your poker career, and just accept that, you know what, at the beginning you're not going to get it all right and you're not going to be thinking about it all the time, but at least you start to create those grooves in your mind. And I use that picture metaphor very specifically because thought does go down grooves, channels that you create in your mind. That's why De Bono coined the term lateral thinking, for breaking across those groove channels in a perpendicular way and breaking through them. And creating those grooves, creating the right grooves on day one is really important. That's why children that are hot-housed, like Tiger Woods and the Serena Williams sisters, have those grooves indoctrinated into them from an early age. They were taken into exactly the right way of thinking from the very beginning, and then it's just those grooves became deeper and deeper and deeper, rather than having to be starting to plough at the age of 18 or 20 or something like that. So, yeah.
Okay, well, let's head back to our multi-table tournament, so we get to see the end of that before the night. But it is all very fascinating. I mean, you yourself, Caspar, you actually take the game of poker and use some of the deep thinking that you can do in poker into real life, don't you?
Yes.
And you've done this to me as well in situations, and it's amazing just how much you can learn from things you would do at a poker table and using that almost as an analogy into something you would do in real life.
Yeah, poor old Idle Eyes has just learnt that in life and in poker it can all go
wrong.
tits up, and sometimes you're out of the game. So bad luck, Idle Eyes. I do like your handle, by the way, so well done on that, and well done on 4th place, which
yes,
is...
4th place actually pays him $228
and that's
well.
from a $10 stake, so that's a nice little addition there to your long-run lifetime expectation. But yeah, I think poker, actually, to be honest with you, is a beautiful metaphor for life. It's a beautiful metaphor for life.
I've got an email here, actually.
Actually, can I just read this other one out? Is that all right?
Yeah, you can do that one first, that's fine.
Because this is an example of how poker is a good metaphor for life, and that is Stuart says, "Hi guys, loving the show. Question for Caspar." He says, "A little while ago you were asked to recommend some books for improving at poker. They were the usual suspects, but also a book entitled 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I've had a quick glance through this and it appears to be a self-improvement type book. Could you recap what in this book you'll feel make a difference to my or anyone's play? I enjoy small stakes sit and go multi-table tourneys, lurking on 2+2, that's great. Also just heard your comments on Stu Unger. I've read the Nolan Dalla book, The Man Behind the Shades, an excellent read and what a player. P.S. Well done, 2nd place, finished Nursey."
Oh, thank you, Stuart.
Okay, so 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, for those who don't know, is a book that sold 15 million copies. It's by a guy called Stephen Covey. It's an awesome number of books. It's sold that in the last 20 years. And it's regarded by many as the manual, not just of self-improvement, and in fact, to be honest with you, that's not a terribly effective categorisation of it, although that's not a criticism at all, Stuart. It's more a sort of management, person development. It's read by a lot of people in HR, human resources, in companies. And it's all basically, its entire stature in that sort of world is effectively derived from chapter 1, the first habit, which is called Circle of Influence, Circle of Concern. So if you want to buy that book and you don't want to read 350 pages, just read the first chapter, which is about 60 pages or so. In fact, it's probably less than that. Circle of Influence, Circle of Concern. It's a concept that lies at the heart of a lot of self-improvement literature, if you want to call it that. And it is basically that there are some things in life that we can control and some things in life that we can't control. The things that we can control, we put in our circle of influence, and things that we can't control, we put outside of that in our circle of concern. Now, how does this apply to poker? Because there are things that very specifically we can control in poker. We can control what we think, we can control what we do, and to a certain extent, by controlling what we do, we can control what others think and do. To a certain extent, that's the grey area in between. Here's what we can't control. Can't control our cards. Can't control the cards. So what does Stephen Covey say? He says, if you want to improve or increase your circle of influence, in other words, if you want to increase the number of things that you can control in life, and most people do, whether it's because you're richer or more powerful or more loved or more liked or whatever it is that you want, spiritual happiness, success, affection, whatever it is, it's all about increasing that circle of influence. And yet the irony of life is that most people spend most of their time worrying about or taking time to think about the things in their circle of concern, i.e. the cards in poker, the weather, the attitudes of people over whom they can't concern, the war in Iraq, all these things which are not in their circle of influence. You cannot affect them. And poker is one of the best arenas in which to practice focusing on your circle of influence, because the cards, you just can't control them. So let go of that, stop bemoaning your luck, don't dwell in that world, and do everything you can to make yourself a better player.
Yeah. And are you always, like you say, even yourself, you're not, you're forever becoming better at playing. Even if you think you know everything, you never do.
Absolutely.
To the end of our multi-table tournament, only 4 people left, or 3 people left, sorry. And Jaded goes into the lead with 199,000 chips. Who will it be though? Who will win? There's quite a lot of money between these 3 actually, so still a lot to play for. While we're watching, I will do another email. We have one here from Daytona. He says, "Hi, hey, great show as always. I was just wondering whether this play was okay in a free roll I was playing recently. We were down to the last 60 people, where the top 50 were played, and I was paid, and I was relatively short stacked, 8 times the big blind. I was dealt queens from first position, and there were a few loose players with large stacks. So I decided to fold and save my chips and sit out in the money. But after speaking to a more experienced player, he advised me to play the hand by either raising or pushing all in. I was just wondering what would be the best way to play queens in this early position. Bear in mind I've only got 8 times the big blind left."
Go all in.
All in, I certainly would with queens.
Just, there's no doubt about it, no-brainer, and passing queens in that situation is a massive error.
Ah, there you
No
go,
offence,
Daytona.
no offence, but you've got to, it's all about situations, folks. If someone raises an early position and someone re-raises and someone re-raises that, and you've got queens on the button, you pass them, because again, the betting language has said to you there, unbeaten, right? Queens are very good, but they're not that good, okay? But if you're in that situation with 8 times the big blind and you've got queens, you've got to bet them, because you don't have enough information to tell you that that is not a good situation.
Well, we have lost third place, going away with $327. And now we're down to heads up. So very exciting. This is always very exciting, our big tournaments. 285 people to start, 36 tables, and only 2 people left. These guys have done a lot of work. You can see they've got all the chips. Pair of nines, big raise. And there's a lot of play still here with these guys, obviously. And just so that we make sure we do get as many emails out as possible before we finish, just while we're watching this, stop me if you see anything. Exciting. But Walt has texted in saying implied odds sometimes sounds a lot like gambling. What do you think?
I think you're right, Walt. There's no doubt about it. People can use implied odds to try and prove very dangerous, vague and hazy concepts. Dr. Tom, in my very first show in Poker Night Live, called them a dark art.
A dark art?
And that's how he said it as well, a dark art, he said.
Art.
With that lovely velvet voice that
He
Dr.
does
Tom
have a
has.
lovely velvet voice.
Dark art, Caspar, what do you think? And I said, I think you're absolutely right, Tom.
Really
They are a
doesn't
dark art.
sound like Dr. Tom at all.
Do you not think?
No, he's
Not even
not
a
that
little bit.
deep.
Oh, he's quite deep and
He's very relaxed.
He's very
and,
relaxed.
You know, he's got a lot to say.
can be like Whispering Bob sometimes.
Whispering Bob.
Dark art and 843.
Yes, we are moving to 843.
Channel
At the end of the month.
843 rather than number 843 Portobello Road or something.
Yeah, channel 843. Gaming and dating. That's where we'll be as of the end of the month.
That doesn't rhyme. That's where we'll be, 843. Not that's where we'll
That's
be.
the
as of
line
the
I
end of the
did,
month.
and then you stole and pretended you made it up.
I didn't steal it. I made it up. I got witnesses. Anyone watching on Tuesday night.
Oh, you did it Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I wasn't watching Tuesday night.
Well, done.
Well, who's it going to be? Who are you going to choose? Hard or jaded?
Podge.
Okay, I'll have jaded then.
Well, thank God.
King 8, 2, 9. Let's see how these guys play it, because they're doing the right thing, aren't they? They're not just all in every hand. They've got play, they realise that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of play in this if they want it.
So you need two big hands for there to be a battle.
Yeah, or a big situation. I mean, it's one of those interesting things where you can have a situation where the two hands are marginal rather than both excellent.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, there's very little difference between the two. This looks interesting. Hodge hits his trips, and Jaded bets out. That's your point. He was the free flop raiser, wasn't he? Betting out there into the trips.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
No information.
Just
Oh,
a call
Hodge just
from
calling,
Hodge.
very clever. Is this one of those big situations? It's not a marginal hand, but it might be a play where Jaded.
Oh, here it is.
Heavens!
Here it is then, pretty much.
Heavens!
That was a big bluff.
Gosh, I don't know what to say.
What do you think was behind his thinking?
I think it was a rush of blood, to be honest with you. A rush of blood.
To the head.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Can't stop saying wow.
It was a big bet.
We've had a good show tonight, haven't we?
I think so. Other than the
You coming
abuse.
second.
Yep.
Wait, when was there abuse?
When I punched you.
Yeah. Queen 10, 4-2, hard, letting go of a big blind. They're so small at the moment, doesn't matter. Small blind rather. Queen 8 versus King Jack. Here it goes. Here we go. Roll them bones. 9-10 Jack, Queen
9-10
King.
Jack, Queen King.
Heavens.
This looks like it's going to be the end and a flush.
An X rating. An
Wow,
X
so
rating.
Hodge takes it. Jaded takes away 498 But Hodge takes away 787.
Goodness
wow,
gracious.
it's good. Very
That was
well
good.
done. What do you think of the play at the end there?
It was good.
Yeah?
It was good. It was good.
And we have a nice email actually here. It says, Michelle, I am a regular Poker Night live viewer, but I've not been watching much of late, sorry. Now I have tuned in again, I am remembering how great your show is. Anyway, just wanted to ask Caspar, when his book is coming out, I want a copy as soon as it's on the shelves. If he's not writing one, tell him that he must. You must. He explains things very well and gives fantastic advice. It would be great to get all those gems of well-explained wisdom into a book. And keep up the good work.
Thank you, mate. That's very kind of you.
It's a good point as well, Caspar. You should write a book and make sure I'm in it.
It's like a novel.
You should do. You could do like half
And
an
then
hour.
this attractive blonde walked into the room.
Rose told him she had 3 kings, but he just wouldn't have any more.
One of your defining life moments. I am writing a book, and it's about taking risks in poker business and life. So I don't know whether it'll be on the shelves, but yes, I am writing that book. I've posted it on the forums. It's not a secret.
No, I didn't know.
So it's not necessarily a how-to book about poker, but on all these subjects, do watch this space.
Okay, now do remember tomorrow night we'll have all of our features back again. Beat the presenter. There we go. There's the info. Beat the presenter. Every night from 11 p.m, one of us will be putting our wits on one of the televised poker tables live on screen, and the game will be commentated on at 12, just like we did today. I'm very happy with second, very pleased with that. Couple of things I learned about my game as well, with the help of Caspar, so that really helps, and we hope you learn as well with us. So do tune in tomorrow for that. And we'll also have our What's in the Hole. That will be revealed at 12 o'clock. But do remember, if you did think you knew the answer, text the word hole, then your answer to 6, and then your name to 62211, and that will be revealed tomorrow night at 12. And it's 843.
843.
843.
We are moving
to
channel
channel
843.
843.
Slick.
At the end of the month. Slick.
We should rehearse that before we do it.
We will next time. From Caspar and I, it's been a wonderful night, Caspar. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
very
I've enjoyed it.
enjoyable.
Well done, you.
Thank you.
Seriously, well done.
No, I'm
You're
really
doing very
pleased.
well. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, from us, we do have to go now. Tune in tomorrow night for 10 p.m. for plenty more poker fun and action. It's a pro night. Caspar and I, though, it is good night and goodbye.